Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SCSL Season 3. Our third place match is going to be Royal versus Mini. Sadly, didn't make it through to the finals, but they're going to be playing for some prize money anyways. These two guys have about $300 on the line. Fourth place prize, something like $100. So there is a big difference between that third place and fourth place.
Yeah.
They're going to be pitted against each other in a best of 7. We're gonna get to see who's the better man today, Mini or Royal. Who's your money on today, Xun?
Probably Mini, just because this guy's furious after the way he lost to Light and probably has a little of pride on the line as well as a few extra $100. So my money would be on Mini. I also don't think Royal is anywhere near as adept as someone like Light in dismantling a player of Mini's caliber. So I'm feeling this could be a close series, maybe a 4-3 victory for Mini. Maybe a little bit tighter of a victory, but still think it's going to go Mini's way.
Well, Light and Barracks managed to win 4-1 both of their series. Mini and Royal only able to take a single game off their opponents. That's pretty convincing wins there. And the final is going to be Barracks versus Light. That'll be coming up a little bit later on, but for now, we're going to watch this TVP, getting straight on in to the maps now, taking a look at what these two guys had in mind. Last time, Mini chose a lot of wacky maps, and it's not going to be any different this time, Xun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all to see these picks from these players. It makes total sense. The more standard player picking all the more macro-orientated maps, which will allow him to secure his expansions easier and not worry too much about attacking, and having more places to put down missile turrets as you're attacking is also so great. But these other sort of like weird maps like Minstrel with the lanes and Monty Hall with the semi-island and Kickback with the macro cheese and low count of resources in that second and third does create for some rather chaotic games, which Mini should be able to exploit.
A little bit surprised to see that Royal left Pantheon to the end rather than putting it a little earlier on. I feel like that's such a strong map for Terran, especially if you get the right spawns. It can be a pretty straightforward win, but Dominator going to be our final map. Neither player wanting to pick that 3-player map.
I think it's
balanced.
I think it's a bit up in the air in TVP Dominator. I don't think, like, say, for example, I've seen Mihu pick Dominator in TVP scenarios against Zanhoon. I think both, it used to be considered a Protoss favored map, but now, like, Terrans started to figure out how to play on it, and there's also been some map changes which make it a little bit more balanced, and I think that now it's becoming not only a bit more of a balanced map, but maybe even a little bit of an edge to Terran in some regards in some game states.
We'll see who can take a win on Dominator if we make it all the way to map 7. If things go the way they have been in the semifinals in these best of 7s, we won't make it that far, but we're going to be jumping into game number 1 now. Let's see how Mini fares against Royal, how Royal wants to tackle Mini on Minstrel as we jump into this first game. Got Mini over here in the top left-hand corner, Royal in the bottom right. This being Mini's map pick, I'm very curious what he's going to pull out here.
Yeah, I mean, you expect a gas steal on a map like this. If he doesn't gas steal, I'm going to be tilting my head wondering what is going on, because at the very least I would expect him to be sending out the probe early to take Royal's gas. Most Terran players these days, though, are comfortable playing a more bunker, expand-oriented game style. Someone like Sark likes to go for that play anyway. But some of these other guys know how to deal with it when it does finally come in. We see the pylon scout coming out from Mini right now, seeing if he can squeeze in here and steal that gas. There are ways of circumnavigating that. As Terran, you can body block the ramp. Someone like Speed would do that just to buy a few precious seconds to actually build the gas on time. Or you could just try and kill the gas with some SCVs like Light would do back in the day. And he's kind of modernized that as the main way of dealing with this.
Yeah, you can also cancel an SCV and build it a little bit early, but that's kind of fallen out of style.
Right.
He's going to start this SimCity up here on high ground. This doesn't block, does it? Does it actually block out?
I don't think so, but he's choosing to harass the SCV as a priority rather than stealing the gas, which is interesting. I don't actually think... Oh, it actually does block. Wait, what? I didn't think you could block with 2 buildings here.
Wow, that's pretty strong for Royal. He's going to be able to keep that probe out and completely negate the presence of this probe. Not really able to harass as the SCV dances to the left-hand side. A bit of good RNG here for Royal so far.
I mean, being able to get this gas online and the RNG going his favor so he doesn't worry about the SCV harass, this is kind of like really good for Royal. Has got a scouting SCV going to be identifying this gateway in the natural expansion soon, and with the perfect wall in, he's got to be feeling no pressure at all from that gateway. When you got to throw down Nexus.
Interesting, very interesting. It feels like Royal has found a solid solution to the gas steal problem for Terran on this map. Minstrel, it's been a real headache for Terran so far, but this does seem to solve a lot of the problems.
Yeah, we see a 229 factory, everything crisp as well. So like no real investment in stopping this as well. Much better solution than just putting the SCV on the ramp and losing a little bit of mining time. So yeah, I really like this solution from Royal navigating this game so far in the early phase. Have to see how things pan out later. Mini did get away with a very greedy Nexus behind this. Pretty much made nothing but a gateway and a pylon, then a Nexus, and now a gas. So still pretty strong position for Mini economically speaking. Just needs to weather the storm going forward. Oh, look at that 2 factory proxy. This is crazy, Saiyan.
Royal does not want to play a long game versus Mini, it seems. He is going to proxy this factory, and what do we see here? A forge on the way. Mini.
Yeah.
He's going to be kind of blindsided. He's actually going to slow down his build a lot in order to build a cannon, and there's going to be tanks and vultures heading his way really, really soon. Oh, this probe heading down south. Would it, in any world, scout this factory? It's in such an awkward position.
I mean, he's hedging his bets against like a possible proxy racks play where you just push with 2 racks worth of Marines and try and kill the Protoss early, or a very strong FD push where you've got quite a lot of Marines coming in to support your units early. And this cannon kind of circumnavigates those issues and allows you to 2-shot those Marines as they come in. This is not going to be as big of a deal, though, for Royal in dealing with that cannon if he's got a second factory to help support this. But the Zealot does manage to get the kill on the Marine and buys a little bit of time. And the most precious thing is sees that there's no building here from Royal. So he knows there's something going on. It's either a vulture drop, proxy factory, proxy barracks. There's something amiss here, and Mini knows it.
There is something amiss for sure, but he can't be 100% sure. Well, if there was a CC building up on high ground, for instance, that would be a little bit. It would be a little bit bad if he overreacted and started, freaking out, building a bunch of gateways or something. But he's gonna put down 2 gateways. He knows something's up. Royal could have put the CC on low ground, and so he really should have done so. Probe is gonna come in for that secondary scout, though. This is really smart by Mini. Just to get in there and confirm, make sure that he knows what's coming.
Right, and again, this probe deep is also really great. He sees the Marines moving out, the tank timing, and still no expansion on the way, so no floated CC or anything like that. Throws down the shield battery. That's a necessary adjustment to make here. He doesn't know exactly what's coming, but he can at the very least sniff out a very strong FD push here. He knows he needs a little bit of extra juice to deal with this, but this tank coming in from the south might surprise him. He's gonna have 2 tanks hitting him simultaneously. A single cannon, 1 Dragoon, and 1 Zealot might not be enough to stop that. With some shield battery micro might be enough. Mine gets targeted down by the Dragoon. Beautiful micro there from Royal, trying to shave off all the shields from that Dragoon, but there is that shield battery already made, so we'll be able to regenerate that. But this cannon is basically not long for this world. These tanks are going to rip through this.
Siege mode already finished. A bit surprising to have that upgrade already done here. He's also got the mines finished as well. He will be able to push in here really strong. This is going to be so hard for Mini to hold. He's already taken a couple of big shots there, and he's going to take more.
That mine though! That's beautiful play from Mini, absolutely expert. Mine drags. Unfortunately, though, there's still some vultures left remaining. There's a cannon finishing in. Probes are pulled off to body block and surround these vultures. The SL pops out as well. There's just barely enough DPS to kill all these vultures now. If he can stop it getting to his main base, one does manage to get in there with just some low HP, but the Dragoons popping out should be able to deal with that. This is beautifully held by Mini so far.
Ooh, he will eat the mine, but it's completely fine. Royal is very all in with this. He needed to do massive damage. He's just not done that. There's plenty of energy left on these shield batteries. He can replenish that. Get into an observer, push everything back.
I was really impressed that he was like repairing the Zealot shields as it was tanking mine hits. So he like bought just precious seconds during that trade to make it work. And a nice little mine clearer here will now allow him to press this tank. And suddenly Royal was not feeling any joy in this movement at all. He's going to be completely shut down here from Mini. I don't know how he's going to navigate this into win. He's 9 workers behind. He's kind of lost all of the tempo he had originally seized. And now there's 4 Dragoons out to 2-shot these tanks that keep coming.
And it's a big question. Should Royal have pulled some SCVs along with that attack? Because the follow-up is going to be so weak. I mean, there's almost no way Mini dies here, so why not pull the SCVs to build a bunker, build a building maybe inside that wall, something to slow down the units from running out and jumping on top of these tanks. Now
the big mine connection. I mean, that's pretty good.
And actually kind of saving things a little bit for Royal. Maybe he can still make something happen if he keeps getting mine connections like that.
I mean, maybe. But there are now 5 gateways churning away, so this becomes worse and worse the longer it does go on for Royal. He has to get something done now. He has got a nice little position with this tank entrenched towards this cliff on the northern face, but the Zealot's doing a pretty good job of clearing out some of these mines, getting on top of some of these units, but I don't know if he's going to actually be able to break in here and do any significant damage to Mini. He needs to like actually get in here and power, at least take this gateway offline and get some shots off onto these Dragoons. But now the shuttle's out and only a handful of Marines. If he hasn't got any engineering bay or turrets to build, he's kind of in a world of hurt. 3 Marines is not going to be enough to screen this shuttle.
No, definitely not. He is bringing some SDVs up. Looks like he will start those turrets now. I just wish he'd brought those with the original push. Right. It would have been so helpful. Now going to drop some Zealots on top of this. Oh, Dragoon actually. No mines right there, so this shuttle's going to be pushed away basically for free. Lost all of its shields. Could come back and get some energy off of this shield battery before it goes down. There's hardly any left on there, so really going to be able to make use out of that. Here comes that shuttle once again, but turrets are now set up. This is getting scary.
I'm kind of surprised that Mini's allowed him to set up these turrets here, saying like this is the only thing that Royal needed was some turret support with this push, so he can't just bomb on top of the tanks with some units and drag mines. This is working out better and better for Royal than I ever anticipated. Like I thought Mini was holding this just fine, and suddenly Royal's like, nah, I won an ASL champion, you know, like I'm actually a pretty good player. Let me show you.
Well, I think this might be Mini kind of throwing the game more than Royal's genius. What we're seeing in this one, the original clear of those tanks, getting in there and clearing that was very well done by Mini. Follow-up has been brutal, and he's just going to get wiped out. That's
He's trying to dive on. Yeah, this is crazy to me. Like, I honestly thought Royal was nowhere near going to be able to get this amount of damage done to Mini. He was pumping off of like 4+ gateways for quite some time. I don't know how he's managed to get his way into this position. It is kind of wild to think about that he allowed these turrets to kind of go up for free despite the SCVs being sent out so late. I mean, it is what it is, but he's going to try and do some kind of counter pressure with a shuttle, but it's not going to work. He has a Reaver out maybe now, but I just don't see how he's gonna not only kill Royal, but you know, get out of his own base now. Like all the turrets and mines set up the way they are, and a Wraith to shut down the shuttle plate. This is crazy.
I can't believe that Mini is gonna lose this game, but that's what's about to happen.
That's crazy saying.
Nothing to do. He really has nothing going on, and this Wraith is gonna shut down the shuttle that's trying to get out on the map. He's going to try and flank this. Look at how good this position is with mines on both sides and a whole bunch of turrets, plus that mobile air defense in the Wraith. This is lights out. There's no way for Mini to come back. He's going to try to move around the outside, but Royal has not cut any corners. He's not even built a CC yet. He's just staying on one base. One base versus one base, Terran wins 100%.
Oh, absolutely, Sam. I mean, and he's got such good star sense right now. He's pulled back like most of his units to the bottom of his rally point, just knowing that there's a chance of a counterattack from Mini exploiting these lanes. So has the bare minimum holding a contain at the front now. Mini's starting to elevate some units out of his cliff now, maybe to help secure the space at the 12 o'clock and also put on some pressure. Mini can kind of play refugee style here, take this 12 o'clock and keep ferrying units out of his base via the use of shuttles But I mean, this will only work for so long. I mean, we're currently almost even on supply and workers. There's a very favorable game state for Royal, who hasn't yet taken his own expansion, mind you. So if somehow Mini can drag this game on, get this 12 o'clock online, maybe he can somehow make this work. But Royal's going to spot that with Ultra, and it's going to make it so much harder for Mini to protect this probe line and put on pressure at the same time.
He really has no choice but to try and come in here and counterattack. Royal is moving a lot of units across the map, but as soon as he sees this incoming, everything gonna turn around. He knows all he needs to do is defend this counter. He should be 100% fine. Coming forward now, Mini ready to take this engagement. Double Wraith. He's gunning down these shuttles super quick. 2 Reavers in the midst of all of this. He actually killed this tank in time. He does get the tank, and he can juggle the Reaver. Oh my gosh, this is doing
Mini's
so much
actually
damage
crushing
to the Reaver,
this.
and he dodged a huge amount of damage from his tank.
What a wild tempo swingy game. Like, this went from being a Minis game to a Royals game to suddenly a Minis game again, as he's just diving on top of this Terran position. He's going to get a cancel on this command center. It's not going to finish up. He may even be forced to cancel that. He will be able to get on top of the production line as well. And the SCV pull doesn't matter if there's a Reaver at play. So these SCVs are not long for this world either, saying he's going to be able to get on top of this ramp with the use of the Reaver support, kill so many SCVs, and get on top of the units coming out of the factories at the same time. I think that Mini's done it despite that really weird back and forth in the early game.
I don't know how he's done this. How has Royal turned around and thrown the game back to Mini now? This is incredible. Game number 1 already with multiple throws on either side. It is wild to me that this is our first game of the best of 7. Where can we go from here, Xun?
I mean, I'm kind of excited for the rest of the series, and this is what game number 1 looks like. I don't know what's going to happen, Sam. My money was on Mini. I mean, he is going to win the first game, but now I'm not as confident. But I do think it's now more likely that it will go quite the distance in this series, that we'll be seeing a 4-2 or a 4-3 victory, and not quite such a one-sided show from these two players.
Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. We've got 15 SCVs left now, 12. I mean, Mini almost lost a Nexus to 1 Vulture. that almost happened.
He can't even finish the command center. He can't even finish. He's about to finish it now and be able to lift it to save it. But I mean, this is so frustrating. He's lost so many SCVs trying to finish this command center. Yes, he can now produce 2 SCVs at a time, but with only 11 workers, he cannot produce units and workers simultaneously, whereas Mini can. So Mini will continually apply pressure to him while growing. He's even ferried some probes over to his 12 o'clock with these speed shuttles. Now we'll have a pretty powerful economy, 36 probes. Roy was desperate to get some counter damage done, but I'm not sure it's going to be successful.
Yeah, not with this many shuttles out and as many Dragoons that have been made. Wraith comes forward. If he could snipe both of the shuttles and prevent units from coming down, he would have to break out of that natural containment and then come down here. But now he's got 3 shuttles, Xun. 3 shuttles to start dropping. He's got the same number of shuttles as Royal has tanks. And so,
it's pretty wild.
What are we gonna do here? I mean, this is we're just waiting for the tap out moment, right? Here comes those shuttles,
I mean,
dropping on top of everything.
They're gonna dive bomb on top of their tanks here. The Reaver was on 1 HP, so there was a chance that that would die quickly. But with that much shuttle support and enough gateway units, there's not really much you can do with just tanks alone. You need like Goliaths, more Wraiths, or something to kill these shuttles before they just dive on top of your siege tanks like that. Royal's gonna have to tap out soon. He's like half the supply of Mini. He's trying to desperately kill these eggs so he can run behind this army and get some critical probe damage to the infrastructure of the Protoss. Maybe, just maybe, he can even out this game, but I don't think he's gonna have enough back at home to stop this army just killing him.
No, definitely not. The overall worker count is surprisingly close, but just take a look at the supply. It's clear who's gonna win this one. Up onto the high ground. Royal will have to block with SCVs here with only 2 tanks fighting back. I can't believe it's come down to this. 19 SCVs and 1 tank remaining, and finally GG will be called. But that was really a comeback for the history books. How on earth did Mini make that work?
Yeah, that's kind of wild. I mean, I don't think Royal should have allowed him to get back in the game like that. But I mean, it happened. Unfortunately, like, Protoss is the most versatile race in the game. using that speed shuttles to play a little bit refugee style and taking another base, ferrying over probes and getting your units out to circumnavigate the contain. Was genius play from Mini, kind of expected though. I mean, like, Royal should have done better to counteract that. He was being fluid with his unit movements and pulling back from the front line to defend his rally point, just not able to do enough soon enough to deal with what Mini's maneuver warfare was throwing his way. It seemed like that Royal was trying to win a battle of attrition, whereas Mini was comfortable just, you know, avoiding those pitfalls and forcing him into a game of maneuvering.
It really feels like Royal dropped the ball with just realizing what was actually his win condition, right? If he just sits in his natural and gets his natural up while containing the Protoss natural and just not allowing him to take the Nexus there and doesn't take any damage back at home, he easily wins. But let's go back all the way to the beginning of that game. How the heck did Mini throw after he killed the first 2 of the 3 tanks? What the heck was that? He definitely should have held that off, and he really should have won that game, but he threw it, and then Royal threw it back. Game of volleyball here between these two, but we're going to jump into game number 2. This, I don't know how much crazier this is going to get, Xun, but with Mini, you never know.
No, you never know, Sam. We're going to be jumping right into it. I'm super excited for this game number 2 on Deja Vu.
And here we are, Deja Vu Mini, down in the bottom right-hand corner. Blue Protoss versus Royal, spawning in the bottom left. The yellow Terran. As you guys can tell, my voice is hurting today. I've been casting a huge amount of Broodwar recently, and it is going to get a lot more busy in the coming week. ASL is coming up the 24th, 25th, and 26th. We've still got the Soup Duel Series going and the KCM. So much great StarCraft, man. I haven't been able to say no to anything, so I'm just so excited for this upcoming these upcoming events that starting to wear on my voice, so I'm going to be a little bit more quiet here in this cast and try to save myself. Shouldn't you can take over and blast away.
Sure, buddy. Maybe you could like learn sign language or something, so when you're not casting, you can communicate with people in a different way about using your voice, you know?
I'll only speak Japanese, very soft Japanese. How about that?
That'll work. Anything that's nice and soft and gentle in your voice, you'll be alright, buddy. But it's quite a lot of work we've been putting out lately. You especially have been taking on quite a lot of extra duties in the StarCraft world, so it will be quite taxing on your voice, especially getting used to that new schedule, so it's understandable. Royal not doing anything crazy thus far, you know, just 11 barracks here. I expect he'll not do anything too crazy this game. I doubt we'll see a 2 factory again. I imagine a very standard game from him. Mini, though, you never know quite what you're going to get with this guy. He looks like he is playing a much more orthodox mid-range style, though, so probably more like a 23 Nexus here from him.
Yeah, go across, put on some pressure with the Zealot. See what he can do with this early probe. Play a more reactionary style.
Right.
Not going to chase the SCV. I've actually seen Protoss players recently chasing the first SCV really hard.
Yeah, Mini will. He does that, especially when he's practicing for like bigger tournaments like ASL. Like he'll really put his task switching into high gear and just practice, like, you know, chasing with the probe while also macroing back at home. You kind of need to practice those more like in-depth skills so that when you go into big tournaments like ASL, you're performing your absolute best. There's pretty good micro here from the probe as well, running away and turning back to shoot with the range advantage of that particle beam. SCV will be saved by the Gauss rifle of that Marine as it pops out, though, so nothing too crazy happening here besides some early game practice of those mechanics.
What's going on with Royal? He's got 200 minerals and 100 gas. He's not building anything. Where's the factory?
He wants to expand. He's making a bunker. Yeah, he's doing like a bunker expand, but he took his gas. So he's like got the gas ready to build the factory, but he's not building it yet. And if he's doing a fake, you'd build this bunker further out. So I doubt it's a fake.
This is a little bit interesting.
Yeah, well, he
sit on 100 gas and get his CC out, and then get the factory afterwards. So he had the 12 gas, but He's going to grab that CC now and really delay that factory by quite a bit. It's kind of an interesting middle of the road play from Royal.
Yeah, I think it's because he scouted him first, and he wanted to maybe adjust his build given that game state wasn't too comfortable. Wanted to make sure Mini couldn't put on any early pressure, and while he's getting this expansion up, and it was that 23 Nexus from Mini, so nothing too crazy thus far. We'll have to see how Mini wants to play after that. If he wants to stay on just one gateway and then like going straight into Robo from that. It's been quite common and popular lately. Mini dives in with that Dragoon, loses its shield for the cost of being able to see that CC being built. It's so important that you do that. That's why you saw him just like lose all that HP on that Dragoon for free. Just wanted to make sure that CC is actually being built right now.
Would be kind of funny if Royal did another 2 factory. Yeah, so we're gonna go in there and check, make sure that that's not happening. He did manage to win that last game, but it was not pretty. That was a sloppy mess of a game, and he doesn't want to repeat that experience for a second time. Second factory on the way here. Machine shop coming up. Royal just going to play this out pretty normally. Just a double factory after expansion. No drop play or anything like that in the mix. Mini is going to go ahead and drop his Robo. And he's got range on the way, not going to delay that upgrade. And so everyone playing pretty nice and safe. But this probe coming out, is he actually going to take a Nexus? No, he's sending it down to the south. Interesting.
Well, he might just be making a pylon down there to spot for Vulture drop or something later on. Like sometimes you just want to spot a pylon down at this 6 o'clock location.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's not going to be a drop, but if it were a drop, you would get some good information from that.
Yeah.
It's also going to be a bit of a hindrance, a bit of an annoyance for Royal when he finally decides to take his third. You can't just send an SCV and just stick it down in the right spot. He's got to build it off to the side a bit and then bring some tanks down. You can't just kill that with vultures either.
Yeah, as soon as he starts to hit this bunker to force a tax repair bill out of Royal, though, the tanks are already popping out due to the weird opening from Royal. If he'd gone just for a normal bunker expand, that tank wouldn't have been popped out in time, and Mini would have been able to put a little bit more pressure onto this bunker and force more of a repair build. But now it's 3 Dragoons. It's still not that dangerous. We need to be careful with this tank. That's 1 volley of shots he's taken. Now with the 4th Dragoon arriving, this becomes more and more dangerous. He can't just dive too willy-nilly forward. But with 3 tanks, it looks like he may be able to just bat this back easily. He's making so many tanks with these 2 machine shops. I wonder if he's going to do like a 5 tank or 7 tank pusher.
Looking kind of likely, actually, Xun. I don't see I didn't see an armory come up, but
he's moving out.
Looking to do, yeah, look at this. 3 tank, bunch of Marines, vultures going across the map, no armory just yet. Okay, there's the armory on the left-hand side. It's kind of an afterthought here with the push coming in. Oh, he sends the tank back home. What exactly is going through the head of Royal right now? He's doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. He's maybe a little bit indecisive here of how we should navigate this, but the 2 vultures will get in and cause a little bit of a problem. Not going to be able to get up the ramp, though, unfortunately. Does manage to avoid total damage on that Scarab, so we'll get another probe maybe for his efforts, and lost a little bit of mining time for Mini there. He's actually currently behind in workers, so it's actually not a bad game state for Royal at all. It's kind of being a little bit annoying right now with these vultures as well, so I actually kind of like this for Royal going forward. And he's looking to be doing a bit more of a tech mechy style with just 2 factories worth of production for the time being and getting his armies online, so maybe not planning on attacking anytime soon after all, just harassing with vultures.
Interesting. Well, Royal gets a little bit of damage here, takes the worker lead. He's going to fall back with the kind of later armory. Start his +1 relatively soon. Will he go into a starport off of this, or we're gonna see him drop a couple more factories and try to take his 3rd base? Meanwhile, running around looking for a probe being sent out for Mini to take his own 4th. That's a lot of factories. And all right, now we know what he's up to. 1 more factories on the way. He's gonna get a push going here real soon.
Yeah, this is the kind of moment you need to wait for to actually identify what builds both players are going to be going for. Around the 7-8 minute mark, you see so many more gateways and factories being added potentially, and it is going to be that 5 factory play from Royal, able to produce a lot of units for some kind of push. You can expand behind the push and play a macro game behind it as well. Me, who popularized that kind of weird way of playing Terran back in the day of like a 1-1 upgrade style. High count of units and low tech was basically the thought process there, able to secure your third and also put pressure onto the Protoss. Now we've got the Korean pro gamers like modernizing that even more and optimizing it for their own gains, and they've done a great job of finding new ways of approaching this mid game with Protoss, and it gives you such a more versatile range of play. You're nowhere near as like turtle centric, just waiting for like 180 supply with 3/3 upgrades anymore.
So much more dynamic, the TVP matchup. On the Terran side of things, they really do hit a lot of different types of pushes, whereas it used to be very static. Like you were saying, that 180 supply was when Terran players would generally push. It was kind of like a rule. But as it stands now, there's so many different ways to approach the Protoss player. Really have to be on their toes and ready for any sort of timing, and this is a lot of tanks coming. Let's talk a little bit about Deja Vu. If he gets over that position where the Dragoons are sitting right now, that's going to be a very difficult spot to dislodge the Terran forces from, and he might even get this shot off with the tank. Not quite. Reaver there, crawling forward, looking for a little bit of damage, but we're all going to respond with Goliaths and tanks sieging up early. This is the older version of Deja Vu as well, so we can still build turrets here on the high ground. If he gets over this little edge here and gets a bunch of turrets set up, it is going to be a nightmare situation for Mini. So you can see he's not taking a fourth just yet. He's just pumping out as many units as possible to try and break this before it gets into that very vulnerable position. He's got the shuttles ready. Here he goes.
Well, he's diving in, but the thing's better off that he just needs to buy a few precious seconds here before Royal can set up fully. Mini's only slightly ahead in supply by about 20 or so. That's actually quite even for a Protoss. It doesn't feel great at all. That's kind of where you should be, not a lead or anything. He's trying to wrap around the back of Royal. There are some safety mines here covering his flank though, so I don't think this is going to be too successful. He does lose 2 Dragoons for free as well before the attack has even occurred. I think Mini's feeling a little bit skeptical about pushing into this. He sees how well set up Royal is, but he knows he needs to somehow get back up here and put some pressure onto Royal to force this contain to be distracted a little bit. He can't just allow Royal to advance to his rally point right now. Has got some DTs out to force some scans and buy some time. Maybe, just maybe, he can sandbag this push. With the turrets on the high ground, it's so difficult to break this.
Look at that tank positioning. Oh my gosh. This is a nightmare for Mini, and the mines are getting set up as well. He doesn't need to move. Royal doesn't need to move another inch. He could just sit here. He will send a couple of tanks over to start hitting this Nexus, but this is the position that Royal was looking to secure, and now he's going to move over, start to kill these cannons as well. A lot of probes are going to fall. Mini is trying to break out of here, but it's just next to impossible. There's so much stuff over by that natural. He tries to push out. He's also going to try and counterattack during all this as well. But there are units in the rally point that are going to help Royal to hold more tanks coming out. And there's plenty of mines and vultures coming to assist as well. Royal's held practically everywhere, and he's broken that base over at center right.
And Mini's created a temporary wedge between the rally point and the siege that he's laying to the Protoss right now, but it's not going to be enough. Like, he's buying some precious seconds maybe to get some more units out, but even on worker count and still only about 20 supply ahead, it's not feeling good for Mini with this entrenched of a position for Royal to work with. Mini needs some desperate Zealot bombs on top of these tank positions. He's trying to distract Royal with these Dragoons on the flank as much as possible, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He's got Goliaths and turrets set up in such a strong tank line. Without Storm, without Stasis, just pure Reaver gateway units is not going to be enough to break through this, I don't think.
This position is so good. Oh my gosh, everything going to come out here and try to land on top of the tank line. Good targeting there, hitting that Reaver, but he does manage to juggle it out of harm's way for a moment. Eventually it will be targeted down though, and Mini with the last few Zealots drying up on this front line. Imagine we're going to have a tap out moment here in just a second. Even managing to save this tank. Not allowing that mine to detonate. This is, yeah, this is beyond bad. This is and like I said, a nightmare position. Cannot allow tanks to siege up on that high ground here on Deja Vu.
I think a weaker Terran maybe would have been distracted and dismantled a little bit by this flanking force of Mini, but Royal's done a great job of not allowing that to disrupt his rally point, reinforcing this front over and over again. And the trickle of Protoss is just not going to be strong enough to break through. He's killed off some of the tanks on the eastern front that was laying siege to his third base. Okay, so it doesn't matter. More and more Zealots trying to see if they can get some Mind Drags and get on top of these tankers as well. The Reavers being controlled and getting some Scarabs off on those, but it's not going to be enough. I mean, it's still, again, like the supplies are actually ahead for Royal now. Like, Mini's losing out on the trades. He's not even remaining even. So slowly but surely, it's going to be a death by 1,000 blows from Royal if he continues.
He needs to bust this wide open. We'll be able to get a tank there, fitting one out for a DP, but we don't need to just shave off a few tanks. We need to slam this wide open, get out onto the other side of the map, and start to deal damage back to Royal. It's just not going to happen. He's stuck here in his natural, and Royal is not going to let these handcuffs loosen up. He's just keeping him on the lockdown. The over here, trying to buy some time. 50 probes, but hardly any mining left in the main or natural.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal. Like, he's not even been able to mine at this third base for quite some time after he did that attack earlier. He killed most of the probes, and Mini just doesn't have the saturation needed to explode in his gateway count and push out against Royal. Eventually, the Terran will always win out on trades in these kind of game states. It just is what it is. Mini's done a pretty valiant effort of trying his best, given the complexity of this attack from Royal, but there's not really much he can do. He's done the prerequisite things of driving a wedge between the rally point and the siege that's being laid to him, but it's not been sufficient enough. Royal's done a great job of covering his flanks all game long. He's trying to be cute with these DTs and shuttle play, but it's just all it's doing is buying some time for him before he dies here.
Well, I think it's all right that Mini wants to stay in a little bit longer. You know, that last game, he really did feel like he was completely dead, and he somehow managed to bring it back, but I think he runs the risk now of kind of overextending himself and winding up feeling kind of defeated in a game like this. Nice mind connection there. Oh, dodge there as well. Keeping that Reaver alive for an inordinate amount of time, but finally this Nexus will go down. This Nexus has lived through some just insane attacks. There's been so much pressure on this third base. It's still gonna live for now. That's crazy.
Yeah, Royal's just wanting to keep his army as fluid as possible to make sure he's covering all his bases in the sense that he doesn't allow the contain to be broken, his rally point disrupted, or this third from going up. So he's okay to just let that third live. If anything, it's actually better to let that third live, because Mini will continually like pour resources in to try and defend it, and that simplifies your game state by forcing Mini to be the one to come to you and trade. And that's much more easy to play that way as Terran. Like, setting up first and allowing them to come to you can be beneficial, because most of your micro can be done before the fight's even taken place, in the way of mines being laid, turrets being built, and tanks besieged in correct positions.
He's definitely got that nice siege position here in the front. Mini is gonna take one last hoorah at this, I guess. Couple of shuttles flying around the map. Looks like he's actually going to move a lot of army over to this random location here at bottom center. Vultures are going to come over here and spot this now, though. So what is this arc? Why did he put these all into Archons? That's kind of crazy.
Well, Archons don't detonate mines. Says that.
He definitely had, you know, the option to utilize Storm there, which is generally just a lot better, but I
think he knows the High Templars are going to get targeted and sniped too efficiently by Royal, and the Archons might have more raw trading value in this situation, or maybe a Storm was like too far behind the curve to make it useful. But at least the Archons don't detonate mines, so there's that. But yeah, generally speaking, you don't want to make Archons against Terran.
I guess so. That's a pretty big stretch, I think. But Mini, he's got to make a big stretch if he wants to actually wiggle his way out of this game with a win. It's just not gonna happen, man. Royal 181 supply. See, just setting up everywhere. Mini has got this weird outpost down at bottom center. I think he just killed that pylon or something. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing down there right now. He's actually continuing to ferry units over to that position. I think Royal, if he just keeps a scan on that, just keeps scanning that area, he should know everything and completely set up to just crush the push coming from this direction. Yeah, look at how many units have been ferried over here. What a weird decision to make right now.
It's kind of wild.
Gonna bring everything forward. He's got 3 science vessels as well. Oh my goodness.
I mean, EMP also counters those Archons like they counter High Templars, so yeah, and they're getting all bunched up and not really able to accomplish much. This is kind of brutal. GG finally called for Mini. Maybe he was just having some fun in the last few phases of the game there, but really well played from Royal. Very decisive push and victory from him. You can see why they made changes to this map. Those Terran pushes along that high ground, just too strong with those turret enables.
How we doing?
I'm in.
Okay. So Mini able to take home a game on his pick, Minstrel. Deja Vu goes to Royal. We're back now to Mini. His pick, Monty Hall. Will he be able to swing it back in his favor by taking a game on this wacky map? Seen quite a few intense, insane games. TVP here on this one. I doubt this will be any different, Xun. Here we go. Royal versus Mini, game number 3. Royal up in the top left, Mini in the bottom right. You better be scouting your main base as the Terran player here, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's very possible that there could be gateways being made in your main, or cannons even. It's possible. Mini knows the full range of play he possibly can exploit on this map. We saw an interesting game versus Light where he scouted him first and they both went expansion early before any units or production, but unfortunately, despite scouting him fast and harassing him, wasn't able to contain the threat of Light, even with his pylon blocking on that mineral wall, and then with the proxy gates falling short, just had no way of following that up. But hopefully he can have a better showing here against Royal and come up with some creative shenanigans that'll be entertaining to watch. Hasn't sent out an early probe onto the map, has Mini, but might still be going for this early Nexus in his natural.
That was so sad when Mini had his Zealot bug out in the main base and not come up to continue that harassment. It did really feel like he had something coming together, like all the different pieces were starting to come together. Everything was starting to form a picture of a really interesting rush, and then one of them got lost underneath the dining room table or whatever, underneath the couch, and he just didn't have a full picture at all. He was missing a piece. Everything fell apart. Hopefully Mini's got a better plan here. Looks like that Nexus first is that plan you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I expected the Nexus first from Mini here. I'm just curious how he's going to follow this up. Looks like Royal as well going to be doing a CC first build here. We see a lot of players opening like this on this map, going for more an economic cheese style rather than like throwing the dice and hoping that your early aggression pays off. This can be a safer way to cheese sometimes on these weird maps.
He's not scouting his main, Xun. I am very disappointed. I saw we had the SDS, the Super Duel series with the Motive versus Scan, and Motive went ahead and built 2 gateways inside of Scan's base on Monty Hall, and he just never scouted his main either, died immediately. That type of thing can easily happen to you. Easily happen. You don't have to play Nexus first as a Protoss player on this map. You can do all kinds of different cheeses, and simply scouting your main, it doesn't take that long, guys. It's a couple of seconds that it could save you a really embarrassing loss.
It's like when you're playing on fastest or something, you need to check the corners to make sure you're not being cannon rushed early game if you know they're going fast forge. And unfortunately here, like, that can happen as well. Terran is also not scouting early, generally speaking, if they're going for CC first especially. So you do have to check your corners a little bit. He's going to eventually get punished. Like, one of these days, he's going to get gates made in his main base, so he's going to throw his head back and like be a little bit annoyed about it, but it's his own fault.
Absolutely. Well, he's gotten away with this CC first today. Mini's not going to be too happy about it. CC first it's ridiculously powerful. Yeah. It just kind of blows the Nexus first out of the water. And so Mini, he's got a choice to make. Does he try to get some damage going? It's going to be hard against the CC first to really get anything damage-wise, because you just got so much income. Oh, yeah. Interesting block here. Another pylon being thrown down.
I'm not sure it's going to amount to much, but it's definitely interesting. You know, I'm sure he'll cancel this.
He absolutely should. The Zealot's going to come up, and I guess the pylon will continue to be an annoyance, but the...
No way.
He can just kind of run away for a bit. Alright, he gets in here, does a little bit of damage, gets 1 SCV. I guess this is the main result of that pylon. 2 SCVs, okay. Now it's actually good. Kind of serious.
I mean, 2 SCV kills is kind of surprising. I thought he'd just pull the SCVs back a little bit and only lose maybe 1 total. But yeah, 2 is not too bad. 2 actually makes sense now that the pylon wasn't cancelled. Kind of compensates for that. A little bit of disruption there. Only ahead by 2 probe is Mini, so does now finally take a small lead in this game in terms of worker count, but it's not really favoring the Protoss. It's just where you should be because of the CC first is so powerful, though. I mean, he's going to need to do everything he can to stabilize this game state. He's trying to glitch out a goon over the wall, does manage to do so. Now can punish these Marines a little bit. 2 of them dangerously low on HP as long as he can target fire those down, and does manage to do that. Now we'll be able to clear up these last 2 pretty cost efficiently, with the goon surviving on about like 30 HP maybe.
Yeah, this is not bad, Mini. Gonna clear out these Marines, and the Dragoon is a little bit rough. Oh my gosh, he actually could have done better if he hadn't microed that at all.
That was anti-micro, yeah.
Just a little bit. Yeah, sometimes in Broodwar you kind of just gotta know when not to micro stuff. That's a skill all of its own, but it's actually part of micro itself is knowing when not to micro. But
yeah,
he didn't lose the Dragoon at least.
Yeah, micro is just the art of doing as much damage as possible while taking the least amount of damage. So if clicking your unit around does less damage and still takes the same, that's not micro.
That's correct. And so a third Nexus will be started here for Mini. He's going to mine out that wall, and with Royal not really having a lot of pressure right now, he might be able to get away with this. A drop play is coming though. Royal has that starport. Did he get the add-on? Actually missed that.
I'm not sure we got the other one on that yet. I think he did.
Because Wraith is also very good on this map. You know that your opponent's going to be going for a shuttle, so he could go for Wraith, could go for drop. Either one's going to be quite strong in a situation like this.
So we're going to dive on top of this bunker. See if you can get maybe one of these SCVs, but it scoops inside the bunker to save it. Nicely done there from Royal, avoiding another one worker lead issue to worry about. Only currently behind by about 1, 2, or 3 workers, depending on the cycles of Mini. It's like about 2, 2.5. So this is actually still pretty good for Royal, despite a little bit of early game shenanigans. Supplies are almost dead even as well, which is very Terran favored. There's a little bit of tempo going Mini's favor. He has got this shuttle. He can maybe put on some pressure with this. We'll have to wait and see if he can get anything done with it. But for the time being, it's just got his third base online pretty quick and is trying to stay on curve going forward into this mid-game shuttle. Now coming into the main base, and there is that tower on that starport like we thought. So it could be potentially a dropship as well as Wraiths. Not usually seeing cloaked Wraiths, but this map is great for it. Does finally cloak the Wraith. Actually did go for cloak. That's actually huge. I'm not sure how many SCVs actually gone down here. I don't think enough. So he's still 42 to 45 and loses the Reaver. This is crazy good for Royal.
The double starport play. Wow. I saw that starport. The second one over on the right hand side, and I was like, oh no, it doesn't have an add-on, but then there's another starport on the left hand side. Pretty crazy stuff from Royal, making quite a lot of Wraiths, and he could actually do a lot of harassment. Some of these bases are so spread out, the Mini doesn't have cannons everywhere.
This style of Terran going Wraiths and Mech is actually very viable even at like just a normal map, but it's so hard to pull off at the pro level. Usually you need a map like this, like a semi-island map, to really get the most juice out of the orange. So I'm believing that he will be able to do so here. The worker count and supply count very even for both sides. He should be able to get a lot of value out of these Wraiths, and with 5 you can obviously one-shot those probes with that 8 damage burst laser, so should be able to put a little bit of pressure to Mini here as well.
We'll see. The cannons are finishing up. These Wraiths are sharking around for some damage, but they won't find much if cannons are everywhere.
Ooh, that's a beautiful scan there, sniping that observer though, rotating around to the third now. There is another observer, needs to be very careful with these. Losing all these observers means he can no longer counter the Wraiths. Has got this cannon that will provide detection if they come too close, but Royal's just gonna bully a few patches that are uncovered and retreat for more Wraiths here.
These Wraiths haven't found any of the shuttles. That's one of the best uses of the Wraiths, is you start scanning around looking for the shuttles in the rally points, and then cloak, fly in, and just snipe those down. It's so strong. Getting rid of that maneuverability, that the ability for the Protoss player to get around the map smoothly, especially with all these lanes. Like, you really do need the shuttles to make that work properly. And now he's going to come back in for some more probes. This is going really well for Royal. The Wraith play is working out beautifully.
Yeah, he's like almost 10 workers ahead. Mini's trying to wrap around back with these units now to see if he can catch some of these Wraiths on the exit vector. Not able to do so though. Is taking this bottom left island expansion is Mini up on this high ground location. So we'll be getting a 4th base online, but after losing such a deficit in the worker count, it's not looking too hot for him going forward. He is going to be going for that double robo play, but that's kind of already soft countered by these cloaked Wraiths. I don't know if this is going to really be too great for Mini going forward. I have a feeling that as long as Royal has good control here, he should be able to dispatch him.
think that we're going to see Royal push through the bottom lane as he takes that base and have a really strong next push down along this lane, break through what they need to put together. And with the Wraiths gunning down the shuttles, man, the whole premise of going shuttles, speed shuttle style, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
He's going to lose those shuttles in just mere seconds. Already we've got a science facility on the way and a second armory coming up as well. So he's going to hit some sort of 2-1 timing, I think. And Mini, I mean, he's not really going to have too much to say about it. As long as Royal controls these Wraiths correctly and targets down the shuttles, how are you ever going to break this position?
Yeah, the 20 damage on those Gemini missiles are really strong at just annihilating shuttles, so a little bit hesitant to say Mini's got a strong chance here, but he has got 3 speed shuttles trying to dive into this position. Maybe he can make something work. There's quite a lot of mines buying some time for Royal. A little bit of a slight of overlock there as well, but he is getting Reaver drops on top of these tank lines. Beautiful Scarabs are connecting, and it's enough Dragoons here. Maybe he can just barely kill enough of these tanks, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. It looks like he has to retreat now. Those tanks just too far back and too well defended here for him to break into. Mini not going to be feeling too happy about that.
No, that did not go very well. I mean, went about as well as I expected. Mini diving in, the shuttles go down super quick. I got a little bit more done with the shuttles than maybe he should have. Royal, if he targets properly, could kill the shuttles before they even get on top of the tanks, but the observer can't come forward. The Wraiths just blow. Oh, this dropship. It is going to go down. Oh my god. Actually,
no way. No way. He just barely managed to get down there with that dropship. That's huge. I mean, Mini can still just load up some shuttles and come and deal with this, but that is a little bit annoying. So much attention is used to now deal with this while Royal's macroing on all cylinders back at home. Currently 140 supply ahead by 10 workers. This is not looking ideal for Mini the longer this progresses. Wraith's now sharking around, seeing if they can catch anything. Oh, he scans, beautiful scan, sees the observer, can take that out with Cloak, and now potentially start those shuttles. Mini has to retreat with those shuttles for the time being.
I think that was a missed opportunity for Royal. If he had gone for that drop and brought the Wraiths along, he could have denied the shuttles from burying units up onto the high ground and actually done a lot more damage. But now he's kind of throwing the Wraiths away here. Losing one of them so far. He's looking to snipe those shuttles, but he could have forced the movement of the shuttles with that drop play and then picked them off in transit, and that would have been absolute genius maneuver. Kind of a missed opportunity for Royal, but he's still doing a fantastic job. 20 full supply ahead and sitting here comfortably on 3 base. Mini is in a lot of trouble. I don't know what he can do to bring this one back.
Yeah, it's going to be a little rough for Mini. It's definitely going to be a long game here, just trying to expand, take as much of the map as you can, and hope for the best in terms of how well you can trade out the units of Royal. Maybe you can deny Royal from ever getting a 5th base online. It is possible. It's just going to be so hard to get into a game state that's favorable here. He has to tech up all the way, get his leg enhancements, get Templar archives, get Storm. Eventually, maybe he can start to get a composition in his army that will be able to counteract what Royal's gone for. He is still relying a little bit heavily on these Wraiths for map control for the time being. He's only just now starting to get into his late game production mode. So, I don't know, maybe there's a hope for Mini. I just don't see it coming to fruition here. There's so many factories and units churning away.
Space. It's so easy to defend as well. He's expanding in 3 different directions, but all they're covering is main. Setting up turrets in all those different lanes and having the Wraiths available as well. How are you ever going to sneak in and actually deal any damage with the infrastructure, the SCVs of Royal? It's going to be so difficult to make that work. +2 is already done.
We're chasing these shuttles.
Observer and the shuttles are under threat. 2-shotting these shuttles most likely. 2 shuttles go down. The 3rd shuttle falls as well. Oh my goodness, so much damage.
That's like a 45 supply lead now for Royal. This is getting dangerously close to a critical failure for Mini, where the game state is just no longer tenable. He may be, oh no, not like this, saying, look at how many Templars there are. They don't have Storm yet, I don't think. This is crazy. They have energy to Storm, but don't have the research. They have to morph into Archons.
Oh my gosh, this is so painful. Oh. so many kills here. As Storm finally comes out, I guess that upgrade just barely finishes now. He's managed to throw down a Storm on some of these Wraiths. Dude, the value of these units is
wild.
Insane.
That's absolutely wild. Saying those Wraiths like paid for themselves and more, like by about a factor of 4. They're kind of crazy how much value they've been able to eke out in this game. Now putting a pressure onto this base that's just been set up. I mean, he's not at least going to be mining from this. Royal won't even be committing too many forces to do that. Just a couple of siege tanks that picked it up, and he remains fluid with the rest of his army, which is really important because Mini can also set up counterattacks while you're doing this, and it's not worth it to send your whole army to kill one Nexus that has no probes mining at it. So he knows he needs to stay fluid and keep all of his army to defend these other lanes.
It's almost overkill at this point. He's got 40 supply advantage. He is going to keep that fluid, and you know, when Mini's army comes in, that army with his full supply, but it's almost not even necessary. This push in is looking incredibly weak. Mini trying to deal some damage with these Reavers at range, but what can he really do in a situation like this? He's still trying to expand. He's still trying to get more bases, trying to take a island over in the top right-hand corner, another base down at bottom center. Like he will end up losing this shuttle. Oh my gosh, he does get it.
Ooh.
Okay, shuttle does go down there. The D-Matrix helping him to make that work, but yeah, Mini just so far behind. It's hard to imagine how he can make a comeback.
I mean, he's doing the right moves. He's expanding to the top right. He did try making a massive round of High Templars. He needs a massive blanket of Storm to have any chance at trading off this Terran army. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have the tempo to work with. Royal's been on top of him at every junction, so really punished him for trying to make those right moves, and now is getting absolutely decimated with this head-on collision of the armies. There's just no meat on the bone for Mini, unfortunately. And another drop with 2 dropships coming down is that bottom left quadrant of the map. It's putting on a lot of pressure. 4 Dragoons is not enough to stop these 2 dropships worth of units. He has a High Templar down here with 1 Storm. Maybe he can kill that siege tank at least and soften up this attack and just not lose the Nexus for free, but it doesn't really matter. He's got a massive push coming down this bottom lane now. I don't think he has enough infantry to stop it.
Royal just unsieging and pushing across the map is the right thing to do. He knows how far ahead he is at this point. Oh, wow. Massive damage at this fresh base over at top center. Huge amount of SCVs just went down, but the real threat is the army, and there's really nothing to deal with that at the moment.
Yeah, even though he's currently now ahead in workers for the first time, I mean, there's still a supply lead for Royal. That kind of really does spell out the game state for you, how devastating it's been for Mini for so long. He's doing a valiant effort of trying to fight back against Royal, but it's been a slow death, unfortunately. It seems like he's running dry a little bit now. His first 3 bases are mined out, whereas Royal's still got a little bit of a trickle left on those mining bases and can now take his own 5th base. So I don't know if Mini can make this work. He needs more Storm drops, more harass, just pinning Royal down in locations and also making him turn around on the lanes. There's a way of making this work. He did a pretty good job coming into this 12 o'clock location. Has also got another Storm drop on these SCVs. This is critical damage potentially to the infrastructure of Royal if he can just keep these Storm drops going and pulling the army of Royal around these lanes. Maybe there's a little bit of hope here. Another follow-on beautiful Storms here coming from Mini in this natural 3rd location, but I don't know, saying, I mean, this is a lot of damage, but the workers are still even and Royal is still ahead by 20.
Something happened to the workers of Mini, man. He was ahead in workers there, but now he's down to even after all these Storm drops. 40 to 40. Yep. Definitely that base down at bottom right getting taken out. I guess he didn't pull the
Royal
probes. Yeah.
And Royal's going to try and get on top of this gateway production area soon, but Mini was smart not to mine out any of those mineral fields, but now finally he is starting to break through that location if he's not careful. So far being distracted with this top lane shenanigans, though. There's so many tanks for him to chew through. He just can't like rise to the challenge. He's doing a great job of it, making the most out of such a few units here, but it doesn't look like he's going to be successful in holding this back for much longer. He does get 2 critical snipes on those science vessels. That's huge. Royal, though, with this additional mining base coming online, should have enough gas in the tank to push the pedal down all the way to the floor and go the distance here and knock out some of these bases coming online for Mini. And that should be all she wrote for our Protoss player here in the coming phase of the game. I don't think there's been enough damage done with those Storm drops to keep Royal back.
Yeah, he killed a lot of it. SCVs, but he took damage at the same time. He ran out of probes, and look, he's not even really mining with most of these probes. You know, a good 20 probes over there at the main that just aren't picking up any resources. There's a base in the top right that's hardly mining at all, and it's about to get shut down. This storm drop coming in. I'm not sure exactly what's in here. Some storm, some Archon, some Dragoons, kind of a special forces on the drop there. Yes, but not going to make too much progress. Kills a few more SCVs, drops them back down to 40. But the push up into the top right-hand corner is the real story. There's only one mining base really for Mini once that goes down. Bottom left is an island, and that's just not going to be enough.
Yeah, Mini's in full desperation mode. Needs to get up here and kill this push while he can. It's going to be handicapping him too much if he lets this base fall. He has got some high templates up there. Maybe he can play get some storms onto those siege tanks and weather it, but I don't think so. There's just barely enough tanks to keep this at bay, but valiant effort from Mini to try and make a game of it. GG finally called, Sam.
There it is. Royal able to take out Mini on his map pick. It's a big statement right there, able to win on Monty Hall and doing it with some style as well.
Yeah.
Bringing out the Wraith play, the 2-port Wraith. We don't get to see it very often. Very speed-esque. That's the person I've seen the most using the Wraith versus Protoss on the ladder mostly, but bringing it out in tournament, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, it's much more impressive to bring it out in tournament. You do sometimes see, obviously pros don't play seriously on the ladder, so you do sometimes see like those kind of mass Wraith plays on the ladder when they're playing against non-pro players and what have you. The Wraiths are actually very good in TVP. They're a little bit underrated, but it's so hard to get maximum value out of those units, so most players don't have the mechanics to do so, will elect not to do that. But on maps like Monty Hall, they're just so good, you have to go for them in my opinion.
Well, it's hard enough to hold off a Protoss player when you've got, you know, all your gas going into tanks and all your minerals going into vultures to just stop them from crushing you, to just rolling over your armies. So if you're spending a bunch of money on, you know, 2 ports and a bunch of Wraiths, that's a lot of gas to sink in. That's a minus a lot of tanks. If you build 6 Wraiths and 2 ports, you know, that's 800 gas. That's 8 tanks, and so it's going to be much harder to hold on. Not as big of a factor on Monty Hall because it's much harder to push. You kind of need the shuttles, and that's why I think we saw it brought out here. But yeah, generally not very well used for
unfortunately not. Yeah, it's just too hard to get the expected value out of those units on most maps, even if they are technically viable. Better to save them for the ladder. We're going to be going in to game number 4 here on Radiant, guys. Let's see what happens.
Radiant cross map. Mini in the top left, Royal in the bottom right. Purple versus blue. That's a good color combination right there.
Yeah.
And we may end up seeing a really big game here. We could also see a crazy game as well. Definitely both players have shown an aptitude for those styles.
Absolutely. Although I will say this is a very early probe move out from Mini. So he's either going to be doing some center 9-9 gates, or this is like rolling the dice and hoping for a gas steal. I imagine it's the former, though. I imagine we're going to be seeing some craziness from Mini. Maybe some center 9-9 gates here or something.
Oh gosh, Mini, he's so well known for this.
Oh, he's gonna get scouted right away.
Oh, Royal scouting bottom center. What is he doing with this TV?
He knows. Oh, he's making his own proxy barracks at the 6 o'clock location. The star sense of these two players are out of this world. They both found each other. Now Mini has to make the pylon in his main base to compensate. This is kind of bizarre what we're seeing here right now. We see an adjustment from Mini, not able to go for any kind of early cheese after scouting Royal early on. And it's going to be BBS. This is crazy, Saiyan. I'm so excited to see how this game unfolds, especially after Mini sent out that early scouting probe. He's not going to be as optimized back at home to defend this.
Royal is going to match Mini's freak here. This guy, he's going to fight crazy with crazy. It's the The
But you
page
be careful
keeper
of that,
running
right?
the asylum.
You be careful of that though, because they'll bring you down to that level and beat you with experience, Saiyan. So Royal still needs to be cautious here.
Absolutely. Mini is so good in these kind of wacky situations. It's kind of like Shine in that regard. If you want to cheese him, you're taking yourself into kind of a awkward situation where you might end up getting completely destroyed. Mini gonna come in and check the main. He sees nothing. Nothing.
He's freaking out right now. He's like,
Yeah,
what?
absolutely.
What?
Second
He's like-
gateway and a shield battery. I think that's the right call.
He's like, I expected some craziness. I didn't expect a BBS. He knows it's most likely BBS based on how many SCVs they're mining in the main and just a single supply depot. He knows it has to be BBS in this situation. He's freaking out a little bit. Zealot will identify the SCV coming in, but this Zealot is going to get punched by these 3 Marines. He's going to take so much damage onto this Zealot potentially.
Oh my goodness. He's gonna kill a Marine here. Royal, what is happening? Royal, come on, man.
Come on. He should have microed that a little bit better there. Did take a few extra punches. 1 Marine should go down, but the other 2 took double punches. So now they're just 1 shot from a Zealot and 2 shot from a probe. It's a little bit suboptimal. It does try and get the bunker down on the low ground. The shield batteries will help prevent a push straight into the main doing critical damage. It needs to pull at least 2 or 3 probes off the line to fight this back while the Zealots help buffer against this. And pushing down the ramp to kill the SCV is crazy good for Mini right now. Royal needs to be careful. With the probes helping out, he will not only push this back, but potentially kill some of these low HP Marines. He's body blocking with the probes and trying to target fire down a little bit with them as well. Not able to get the best of kills. Finally, the probes starting to help out by killing some of those Marines that were low HP. Royal has to tap out here. Really beautifully held by Mini and a bit of miss micro from Royal, spelling disaster.
Wonder what prompted Royal to do BBS here. I mean, it is a very good map to Nexus first on, but
what's crazy is that Mini sent the probe scout beelining for that 6 o'clock location while he was BBSing. Like he somehow knew that there was some craziness going to occur that game.
it was almost like he wanted to 9-9 gate himself, but then he saw the SCV and he was like, all right, I guess I have to build my own pylon in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a weird game, a very strange one. Like both players in kind of like a fever dream state, making it up as they went along. Royal does end up losing that game, so a free win going over to Mini basically on Radion. He's snagged a win on, like, I can't imagine. Wait, Royal picked this map and then decided I'm gonna pick Radion and then BBS on it. Like,
well, he assumed Mini would just Nexus first, right? Like
Yeah.
he assumes that Mini's gonna like play greedy or something, and especially cross maps, I'm sure even more so. But yeah, that early probe scale was so bizarre. Like he looked like he wanted to send a 9-9 gate, and then he just happened to seize the SCV there. And he's like, okay, I'm not gonna 9-9 gate. I'm just gonna play safe. But that also kind of tipped him off. Being able to navigate a more normal game after that really helped out Mini. Very interesting, bizarre back and forth there in the early game.
Range third place map we're having, or match we're having so far. Kickback is our next map. What do you expect out of this next one? Or do you have any expectations at all?
I mean, this is a wild map. You can get away with super greed. We saw Mini get dispatched by Sark here, taking 3 bases off just 1 factory. Who knows? It's a crazy map, both micro and macro orientated. We're going to have to see. Let's go into it.
Here we are on a Kickback again with the cross map. It's been happening quite a bit in this series, and the player really taking advantage of it. As Mini hasn't been opting for many Nexus first plays, and Royal's been playing kind of weird as well. A BBS and a 2-factory play and a 2-port Wraith play. Man, he's really mixing up the style a lot.
I mean, we had a very unexpected game number 1 as well with the back and forth, so we don't really know where this matchup is going to take us. I mean, I'm still favoring Mini just because Mini's such a shenanigans-orientated player. I think he can navigate this weird series a lot better than someone like Royal can. I'm hoping that Mini can like find his composure and close it out. He sometimes does spiral emotionally, but when he is playing his A game, he's an absolute monster of a man. So we'd like to see better games from him. But yeah, snagging the win on Radiant is crazy for the tempo of Mini going forward now. We're tied up in the series. I have a feeling we might be going the distance with that 4-3 result, potentially here, Sam.
That is a possibility, a distinct possibility. We're getting closer and closer to that game number 7. With no clear winner in sight. Those players tied up here 2-2. It's looking like a pretty epic finals, semifinals. No, excuse me, third place match.
Third place. Yeah. I mean, they're playing it like it is a finals, right? It's crazy, these shenanigans we've seen in this game. I'm kind of happy about it.
That's true. We really are playing it like a finals, like throwing everything and the kitchen sink at each other and just, if they can grab some wins, it's cool to see these guys in their top form trying to navigate a best of 7.
Right.
They really do have to play it a lot differently than a best of 5 or a best of 3.
It looks like Mini's taken a much more reserved gas timing here, so optimizing for economy a little bit while still playing safe. Looks like Royal is playing just absolutely straight up safe right now. Nothing crazy from him. Probably worried about shenanigans from Mini. He knows that this map is great for shenanigans and macro cheese, so he doesn't know quite what flavor of Protoss he's going to be dealing with until this SCV scout starts to make its way into the base right now.
I don't think we're going to see a Zealot here. Probably just straight into a Dragoon and a quick Nexus coming down afterwards.
Probably rangeless, yeah.
Yeah, this is a map where the Zealot can be easily skipped without getting any sort of punishment. You got 2 different locations to choose for your Nexus, and so dropping an eBay is just not going to help. It's not going to slow him down at all.
This is great from Mini. It's like a safe way of getting a Nexus first up here, and now that he knows it's cross map, he's feeling even more comfortable about getting an early Nexus at 18 supply. You can do like an FD push here as Royal. It's just so weak. The rush distances are long. The chance of it going wrong are so high. And we see a little bit of chase micro coming up for Mini as well, that we were talking about earlier, being a little bit more active with that probes. Quick turnaround of a manual move command as well. Makes that probe turn on a dime and stays in range of that SCV. The manual sliding on that Hex really does kill that SCV scout here.
A really good control there. Going out of Mini. SCC will start for Royal, so yeah, not going to do any sort of strong FD or anything like that. Try to put the pressure on. He's probably just going to drop a bunker here in the natural. And try to slide a vulture out onto the map and get some good scouting information going. Do you think Mini will grab a quick third, though? Will he go even in the...
Yeah, I think so. I think he will. But I also think that Royal won't make the bunker right away. I think that Royal's going to greed on the bunker a little bit. He knows that like it's possible that Mini's just doing a fast Nexus behind this, not pushing out. Probably has quite a late range upgrade, and it's going to be Royal that's going to be taking a fast third as well, potentially. That is crazy. And he is greeding on this bunker a little bit. He's trying to get away of not making this bunker until the very last possible moment. Now this Vulture intercepts the 2 Dragoons, so he's going to have to start this bunker in just a few moments here. He's trying to drag the Dragoons around to buy time. That's a little bit mistake from Royal, kind of playing with death there. He has got a Vulture and 3 Marines here to defend, but without a bunker, those 2 Dragoons can reign supreme. Does need to be careful here now, Royal.
That double full wall back at home, Mini can just mine out that mineral pack and still keep himself safe. Mines are now down at the front. You can't really run through this minefield.
No.
As Mini. I mean, you can try to Bisu through all of this and get a little bit lucky.
Right.
There's mines now behind him as well.
He's trying
so
it.
as he retreats, oh gosh.
You got one.
He's actually kind of getting through.
Yeah, this is
make this work.
This is the problem, is that there's a chance that the Protoss player just bowls you over by clearing the mines manually. You have to be really cautious here and keep your army close enough to the mines that when the mine pops up, they automatically shoot your units rather than the mines. But then you run the risk of losing your units for free. That there's no real easy answer to this as Royal, unfortunately. Mini is going to pressure him with these 2 Dragoons successfully.
Oh my goodness, this is getting kind of bad. Finally, the tank pops out. There we go. You will be okay here. Mine. There it is.
Okay, that's great.
Quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, I mean, that Dragoon's dangerously low on HP now. That's a little bit of compensation going Royal's way. Feeling much more confident now that he's got this third command center almost finished up and didn't take too much damage to those 2 Dragoons while also starting an armory. Mini inversely has his third Nexus churning away. So this does favor Royal overall going forward here.
Absolutely. Having that third CC down and not even making a bunker, that is some insane greed. Insane next levels of greed, and really just needs to bunker down and defend, and he can go directly into a starport, get a couple of armories going, and hit like a insanely strong 2-1 or even 2-2 timing.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to attack at all. He can just stay on these 3 bases and just play kind of like Artosis style and stay in his corner of the map for a very long time and be very confident and comfortable doing so. Mini doesn't have the luxury of just like expanding and feeling safe about it. Like eventually his second and third base will also become mined out. So he has to either do something significant to Royal now to disrupt this greed or go crazy with his own expansion. Just 1 4th base here won't be enough. He could take a very greedy 4th though and get it online at about 8 minutes. That would be a nice little greedy 4th. He has got the probe down here. So it'll be a nice little play here from Mini to get this 4th base underway by the like 7:30, 8 minutes would be great timing here.
All right, more greed. This is becoming a battle of greed between these 2 players. Neither player pulling any punches, just sucking up as many minerals as possible, gobbling up the map, gobbling up these resources, and the follow-up is going to be important here for Mini. What does he do with these very quick bases? Is he going to transition into something like carrier off of this?
Right.
Do you have time to do that? Royal
I don't think so.
I mean, he's gearing up a little bit here. He's got the armory. Is he going to go double armory? That might be enough time for Mini to transition to carrier, but it really depends.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many factories are thrown down right now. If he keeps churning, if he goes up to like 7 factories soon and goes like more 1-1, 2-1 style, there's no way he can go carriers. He might be able to get away with it cross map, just barely. I don't think he's going to elect to do so. He tried that against Light on this map and fell by the wayside in the end, so might want to be avoiding a repeat of that performance and instead trying to stay more gateway man centric with some robotics based support, speed shuttles, eventually getting high templars to storm Royal to death later on. I'm not sure that's going to work out perfectly for him, but it might be better just going straight up carriers here.
You're right, into the base. Starting to get set up down at the bottom right hand corner. I think that Mini would like to set up a secondary rally point as soon as possible. In a situation like this, you're probably going to end up needing it. This Terran army is going to come out really strong very soon. There's the science facility on the way now.
Yep.
As he gets this second upgrade started. Getting closer and closer to that 2-1 timing. Mini has a clock on him. He's only got, what, 4 gateways here?
Yeah, and you need like
pumping those numbers a lot.
You need like 3+ minutes of window time to go carriers undeterred, unfortunately. And by that time, Royal's going to be ready with 2-1 upgrades pushing across the map. So it makes sense for Mini just to play a solid game here, get another corner base, eventually set up gateways down there, and play a much more normal split map position and try and contain Royal on these 3 bases. Like, that's going to be his goal, is like eventually Royal will be mined out on this natural 1/3 quite quickly because of the low mineral saturation, like 1200 minerals per patch. That way he can just then focus his win condition on splitting the map and stopping the Terran player being able to secure additional gas bases, and then he can win.
Yeah, these bases will run out really fast. You're on kickback. They only have about 1200 minerals. Sending out a dropship that's been caught by Mini. Really good catch here. He's going to get those last 2 shots. Finishes it as well. Very good heads-up play from Mini to catch that dropship and prevent some damage going to his economy. While he's building all these bases, he's stretched pretty thin. And so there should be openings where Royal can deal that damage, but without that dropship now, it's going to be hard to get out on this map.
It's kind of wild that Royal tried to thread the needle with that dropship heading like through the middle of the map. He should have gone from the corners of the map. He was worried about pylon spotters, but that actually wasn't an issue. There's no pylon spotters at all. He's going to be able to get some vultures down to the 6 o'clock base, which is also walled in with pylons, but there is cannons there to support, so we shouldn't find too much value here. And look at this quick response speed from Mini. Has a zone shuttle here to hunt down this dropship if he gets a little bit too feisty.
He's ready to dive on top of that. Has a Dragoon in there as well now. Gonna bring it up to see if he can't pick this off as it flies through. One vulture in kind of a
That's nice.
vulnerable position. Maybe get a 2-3 probe. Not too bad. Gonna head over to the rally point now. That's not a very good idea. The scan came down way too late and he just loses it immediately.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, not going to be finding much with that. I mean, everything looks okay for Royal. I mean, like, the supply count is very even. Worker count is also not that much behind him. He just needs to worry about taking this 4th base. You go, like, 7 factory into 4th base, usually. He might not feel super confident about that. How many factories do we have? Is it 7? Okay, we got 8 factories right now. That's more like it. You know, like 8 or 9 factories to take our 4th base here, rather than the usual 7. I hope that Royal can be successful in doing so, because if he doesn't get this base online, then Mini can definitely win the game. This is the main thing. Royal needs to snake out onto the map, get a foothold, get lots of mines set up, and finally take this 4th base. He will then be feeling way more comfortable. 2-1 is not quite finished for Royal. We still got like another 30 seconds or so before those 2-1 timing finally kicks in and he can actually start to trade with the Protoss.
Yeah, he's moving along the vertical axis. It does seem like Royal wants to come down to try and hunt into this base in the bottom right. At the same time, take center right, kind of behind the push, and that's a great idea. We'll see if it ends up working out, though. As Mini's about to dive into the main, this is the perfect time, right as the Terran player starts to move out, sending in this massive budget recall into this 3rd base. Let's see if he can do a huge amount of damage over there. We're actually missing the drop at the moment. Over there at
quite a lot going
base, top right-hand corner, the base over here, this Nexus is actually going to die, it looks like. How much damage has been done? Well, we didn't
About
actually
10 or so SCVs.
Something like that. A lot of head building as well.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think of. There is a science vessel here, maybe to D-Matrix or EMP soon, but I don't think he's got EMP on the way, so the Psionic Storm will be able to activate on this tank as well. D-Matrix does come down to save that. That might be critical. It will stop 2 Scarab shots from finishing it off. Pretty good defense from Royal, but honestly, that was really nice from Mini. Like, he's now like 40 supply ahead. The worker count is almost 20 ahead. He did lose that Nexus in the top left, which is his other win condition, which is securing both corners of the map and then just making it impossible for Royal to expand beyond that 4th threshold. But yeah, so far so good for Mini. He's doing a great job of navigating in this mid to late game phase. He knows he needs to get this other corner of the map set up so that he has a late game win condition here by getting gateways up in both corners of the map. Will make it almost impossible for Royal to secure a split map position.
Yeah, if he gets another quadrant of the map up, that's going to be really scary. In the back end, 2 more shuttles, but this is looking pretty well locked down. Diving straight in here. Storm should be huge. The SCPs starting to go down. Storm killing quite a few of the vultures as well.
Yeah.
Army is out of position to actually defend the center right. Does Mini know about that? If he did, he would definitely move to kill that CC. In fact, he's going to catch
these tanks.
Forward.
Oh no, Saiyan. Oh no.
Sieging, that's rough.
Yeah, that's really good for Mini now, and makes it just that little bit harder to secure this 3 o'clock base going up. 140 supplies to 190. This is just barely enough Terran to hold off a maxed army of Protoss, especially with the 2-1 upgrades just finishing up for the Terran. But honestly, like, this is now looking better and better for Mini. He's going to get this top left base up undeterred. Like, all of the eggs are in the basket of setting up this 4th base for Royal. He hasn't got enough tools to really deal with his top left. He's going to send out a small vulture raiding party up there to see if that can accomplish much, but I'm sure Mini has at least something up there to deal with that. Yeah, a couple of cannons and a couple of Reavers going to easily take care of this vulture raiding party, and with those gateways coming online in the top left, the win condition for Mini has finally been activated despite Royal getting this 4th base set up. Now Mini's prepared for the super late game. Mini
has grown to a formidable size. The army is still pretty scary for Royal, so diving in might trigger a counter attack if he loses too much. Royal could still attack into one of these bases, but for now, going to wrap.
Another poor man's recall coming into this natural third. It's looking pretty crazy good for Mini right now. It's just such a struggle to get up this tiny little ramp and deal with these forces. Great Sonic Storm is going to be cutting through the army supply of Royal as well. Now currently ahead 50, nearly 60 supply is Mini. This is crazy stuff we're witnessing here. An absolute masterclass in dismantling a macro Terran, I would say. This is Mini's best performance of the evening.
Yeah, this was the best position. Oh my SCVs. Oh, wow. That was insanity. So much damage on that trail of SCVs. The trail of tears there. With all those SCVs run directly into catastrophe. Only 42 of them remain and hardly any economy to work with. 138, can he still hold on to 4 bases in this situation?
I mean, on paper, you can handle a head-on engagement one time as Terran. You cannot handle a Protoss player that's like doing speed shuttle drops all over the map while this is all going on. You cannot afford to split your army up in these situations. So if your army is not leveraged in one big frontal engagement, you're in trouble. And look at this, Mini's just wrapping around the back end of this army as it tries to secure 3 o'clock. Now he's going to turn and defend this as shuttles also bomb 3 o'clock. So he's getting attacked on 2 fronts right now. 3 o'clock is also under siege. He's losing more SCVs while the shenanigans are going on up here. This is just a pure distraction tactic. This is like head body, where he's like throwing jabs to his head, making him protect his head, then he's throwing in some liver shots while he's distracted and punishing the infrastructure of Royal.
Royal's just never gonna max out again, I don't think. He's just gonna keep hitting him over and over and over again. Continue to kill off SCVs, continue to pick off army. Royal's had enough. He's going to go across the map. He's going to try and hit bottom right. He's sending a CC out towards the middle. That might just walk right into this massive Dragoon army and die immediately, though. Are we going to hit from both sides? Yeah, there it is. CC just going to float directly into this. That's not really going as planned, I don't think.
No, I don't think that was going as planned either. I mean, I guess it's buying him some time to cycle his units around a little bit. If he can attack on his vertical axis and take out the bottom right, that will be huge. That's a huge Sonic Storm though, wiping out 3 tanks. This is the problem with attacking into these quadrants, is that you just got High Templars storming from the high ground, even though there's only a few gateways down there. You need the whole army to come and push into these locations. And meanwhile, Mini's also driving a wedge between that rally point and this frontal engagement here, trying to cut off the path of retreat as well as the path of reinforcement. Beautiful storms on these lines of tanks as well. Mini's doing a great job. The supplies, though, are currently Royal favored. Royal has tempo on his side. If he can somehow push deep on this vertical axis, get on top of this production area, and cut off some of the production available to Mini, maybe he can turn this game back in his favor again. He's doing some pretty good storm dodges here in the bottom right. Supply currently 10 in favor of Royal. He's doing an absolutely fantastic job of pushing on this vertical axis, getting on top of these gateways in the bottom right. Maybe, just maybe, Royal can turn this into a tempo win.
Well, a lot of these tanks, something that we're not seeing right now is a lot of these have been stormed. Once they've taken half of the damage of the storm or full damage from one storm. And so many of these tanks are very low on HP, and we don't really have a lot of Goliath in this army. So as soon as Zealots start getting dropped on top of this, you're going to see a lot of these tanks melt. But somehow Royal getting in here and dealing quite a bit of damage. Did Mini get too complacent?
Maybe.
4,000 minerals in the bank right now. And
I think he got a little bit complacent.
Barely on top of the supply.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Like he's kind of have a struggling of actually remaxing right now, but losing those gateways in the bottom right does kind of handicap him a little bit. Doesn't have quite the crazy gate count that he once did to just churn out all this money into units. He has got some speed shuttles making their way down there. 3 gateways are still online in this bottom right, though. That might be Mini's saving grace here, having just a few extra gateway production down in the bottom right. Sandbagging this army's efforts just a little bit will be huge. He's only on 1 mining base right now as well. Another storm Storm Drop coming down into that 3 o'clock location. The EMP does land, but only gets like 1 or 2 of the Templars, not the main Templar that's going to be storming quite a few of these SCVs. Now he's down to 40 SCVs and the rest are softened up. It's not so much the first Storm Drop that does the damage, it's the follow-up Storm Drops, because the SCVs are strong enough to slide out of the storm and survive, but they only survive like 10 or 20 HP, so the follow-up storms do so much damage.
Where are all the units? Mini 144 supply, really, with 3,000 minerals in the bank? Kind of crazy. He's not able to pump out enough to overwhelm Royal or even get ahead of him in supply.
I don't think he's even macroing out these gateways in the top left, you know. I've not seen any units come down from the top left for quite some time.
It really does feel like a bit of complacency here for Mini. Eventually Royal will split the map if he allows it. If he's allowed to take this bottom right, he absolutely will, and he'll just grind you down in an insanely long late game. Mini does not have the composition to fight 3-3 mech in a split map situation. It's not like he's got carriers. He doesn't have Arbiter. He's just sitting here making shuttles and reavers and storms. That's all he's been doing the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, he's aware that Royal's basically churning away on just one base economy right now, but that won't be the case for much longer. Eventually, Royal will secure this bottom right quadrant for himself. There's so many units in the center of the board that Mini can't really do much about it right now. He's got some speed shuttles coming for some storm drops. He knows that the SCVs are weak. Maybe some follow-on storm drops here could do absolute wonders. There's 3-2 upgrades for Terran and only 2-1 for the Protoss, so Terran's definitely outscaling the Protoss right now, but so many storm drops has reduced that count to 39. EMP coming out on there before they're able to morph into an Archon. Kind of wild stuff we're seeing. I'm honestly, it doesn't seem like Mini's kind of throwing the game a little bit here, allowing Royal to get away with this play. Again, I haven't seen many units come down from that top left this game. It doesn't seem like the Mini's been firing on all cylinders like he should have early on with his production, mainly macroing from his main base, and I think that's starting to cost him the game.
This is a big army coming down for Royal with only 40 SCVs left. There's 110 army supply that's being brought to bear. A counterattack's making its way over towards the natural. These Reavers hold down the fort up on this high ground. Counterattack moving towards the natural is actually a pretty scary thing for Royal right now. He has not that much army to hold the entire half of the map, and if the army gets in on top of his factories, that could be a crushing defeat. And so he will pull back. Mini didn't have enough army there. If he had been macroing really hard out of these gateways in top left, he should have had a decent army to actually push in there. He is transitioning to carriers. Okay.
That makes so much sense, and that makes so much sense now. He was banking those minerals for a reason. He didn't want to go too crazy with his production, so he could acquire a transition while all that shenanigans was taking place. I now am much more in agreement with Mini's game plan. This actually is making way more sense to me now that I see those carriers. He's delayed how long it's taken for Royal to get down into his bottom right quadrant and get more mining bases up, and now that he's finally got a foothold, the carriers are going to be hitting him. There are some Goliaths here, but not really the kind of count of Goliaths you need to just stop these carriers in their tracks just yet. And if there's enough infantry support for those carriers in the way of Sonic Storm and Dragoons, it's going to be very difficult indeed for Royal to combat this.
This is almost impossible to get Goliaths up this tiny little ramp, by the way. Just defend against the carriers. So you can come in, kind of poke here, and then back away as soon as the Goliaths come, and you're never going to get up on that high ground, especially with shuttles coming to support this and dropping High Templar. Oh, it is just such a nightmare. These drops are going to come down. Reavers are going to start to hit these Goliaths, and he targets the CC. He'll be dropping Royal down to just 2 bases once again, and one of those is getting very low. Great mind connection. They're killing like 5 Zealots. Kind of funny.
Yeah, it's brutal. Royal is doing a counterattack in the top left, trying to take out that base, but the carriers will be reigning supreme now. Mini has enough bases and enough interceptors to really cause a nightmare situation for Royal, who has to produce Goliaths on all cylinders, so won't be able to produce much of anything else right now while trying to stabilize this game state. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do so. With Sonic Storm supporting the carriers, it's going to be almost impossible to get a sufficient enough Goliath count to combat that. If it's just straight up carriers versus Goliaths, obviously that's much more tenable for the Terran player. But this Psionic Storm blanketing your Goliaths while you're trying to fight the carriers is almost impossible. And he's going to be able to take out this bases. In the top left is Royal. With only 28 SCVs left and these two bases being knocked out by the carriers, I just don't see how Royal's going to win now.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like he's got much of an option. Mini's got another 3,000 minerals in the bank, or at least he did until a moment ago. So he could do another carrier transition if he wanted to. Let's just start all over, pull a bunch more Stargates and make another 5 carriers. He would be fine. He can do pretty much whatever he wants now, but getting rid of this CC is the first step to his ultimate victory. Taking that off and now pushing forward with Reaver Carrier. This is something we saw from Snow. He plays with Reaver Carriers so well, but now Mini kind of caught a little bit and I think it could use.
Well, splash damage mixed with carriers has always been like the bread and butter of late game Protoss versus Terran. It's just almost impossible to deal with when you let them get to this kind of count of carriers with ground support. It's almost insurmountable for the Terran, and we can see like the last death throes here of Royal as he maybe kind of gathers himself mentally, maybe taxing Mini a little bit here, just wearing him down for the future games. He kind of knows he's out of this, but he's just kind of putting together what happened in the game in his head, figuring things out, wearing down his opponent for the next game, while also now thinking about what he wants to do in the following maps.
Well, he has killed all the mining bases of Mini, right? Mini's not really mining anywhere. And he has some mining going on at the top center, and he doesn't know exactly how many probes are left, right?
Well, that's
and
true.
So
yeah.
He's thinking that maybe there's something he can do here, but we know there's really not much going on. I mean, there's almost no money left for Mini. Like, look at how little money's got. $18 in his bank account, but enough interceptors to take this one home. GG finally called. Royal taps out. Mini takes the lead once again. And so, kickback goes to Mini. Oh my goodness, Xun.
Yeah. That's a big tempo win for Mini now, leading the series 3-2. What can you say? I thought Royal was looking much more stellar in that game than he actually was. I didn't even get a bead on the fact that Mini was switching to carriers until he already had 5 of the things. So yeah, that power spike is just too much for Royal to handle. He was doing a good job of spinning all the plates and stopping them from coming tumbling down, but once the carrier transition was able to come in full swing, there's just nothing you can do as Terran. You have to let like most of the plates crash and smash, and then you have only got a few left to work with, and obviously Mini is going to have an easy time kicking over those last remaining plates with those carriers.
It's so frustrating to try and push into another main like that. Kickback.
Yeah.
Templar on high ground, and the army is just constantly being stormed over and over and over again, and the storm drops just endless coming from Mini that entire game, killing off his SCVs and harming his income. Really, excellent multitasking game from Mini, keeping a lot of those plates spinning, as you were saying, and throwing wrenches at Royal as he was trying to juggle his separate tasks. Now, we're going to be going on to Pantheon. Depending on the map position, this could be highly Royal favored, but we'll have to see how they spawn. It's going to be up to RNG here, whether Royal gets a big advantage in this next game. Let's talk a little bit about Pantheon and why it is so favorable for Royal in certain positions. And in fact, it's not going to be those positions, Xun. Royal down here in the bottom right, Mini in the top right. If these positions were reversed, Royal would be in a fantastic spot. As it stands, this is pretty playable for Mini. This is a reasonable place to be at.
Yeah, the positions were reversed. You're not only naturally expanding towards the Protoss to the south, but you also can push on the vertical axis and take the third base behind it with that little high ground cross section in the center. So really easy to get some strong push timings going as Terran while also expanding behind it, but not going to be seeing that with these positions. Terran will be expanding to the left, slightly away from the Protoss with his natural rather than heading straight for him if he was in the top right. So slightly mini favorite positions here going forward.
Yeah, just the way the natural is set up here in the bottom right. If you're pushing from the north as Terran, you can actually hit the probes from that narrow corridor, which is so hard to break.
Yeah.
That spot, once the Terran is in there, it is incredibly difficult. As it stands, though, Royal pushing northward, he's going to have to go through a pretty wide open area, and that'll give Mini the opportunity to dislodge him. You can sort of get up on the high ground in the north. As the Terran player, push up onto that mineral only and start to hit buildings inside the main base of the Protoss, but it's rare that that ends up making a really big difference in any of these games.
Right. We see a normal 12 gas here from Royal as well. I doubt we'll be seeing anything too crazy from Mini. Seems like he took his gas at a much more traditional time this game, so no like cheeky fast Nexus plays or rangeless expands. He'll probably be doing a much more safer, orthodox 23 Nexus.
And nothing much different from Royal in that regard, playing pretty safe here. This is his tournament life on the line. Not going to be BBSing at this point in the game, in the series. He's not quite on Mini's level just yet.
Yeah, Mini put the pylon like quite far down in his base to maybe like fake out Royal that there's potentially more pylons out on the map and like kind of mind game him a little bit. But I doubt Royal is going to fall for something as cheap as that. You can sometimes trick a Terran player by how many pylons you've got and where. Like they're always trying to find that third pylon early on to make sure you're not doing anything crazy, but he actually will be seeing this second pylon hidden to the south here, so he knows there's nothing too crazy. But now he knows that Mini might want to high tech. Oh, look at that ring around the rose. He does finally catch that SCV with a particle beam, and not before seeing what the actual choice of build will be from Mini. Will it be this fast 23 Nexus, or will it be some weirdness? He doesn't know for sure, but I'm imagining he won't be too easily fooled by this.
20 Nexus.
Okay.
Mini opting to get that Nexus down before getting that first Dragoon started. Double scout with both probes. Heading out in either direction. He's unsure. Oh, wait, this is actually the Dragoon. Okay, so he built the Dragoon, then he built the Nexus. Not a Protoss.
He didn't get range. He did a rangeless. I assumed he wouldn't do rangeless, but he actually did. Misa's range might finish up a little bit later than usual, but he should still be okay. He's trying to, like, the best form of defense is sometimes offense, but this actually might come back to haunt Mini a little bit because he's taking a little bit of extra damage onto this Dragoon. He needs to not take too much more. If he can kill the Vulture, that's going to be huge, but if not, that's actually a little bit Royal favored coming forward. The boys have been pulled as well. He can body block with this SCV and buy some precious time for those units to catch up and get some more damage done to the HP of that as well. He knows he needs to target fire that Dragoon in particular. Vultures do true damage to shields, so 20 a shot from that fragmentation grenade, and the 6 damage of those Gauss rifles from the Marines that do higher DPS overall than the Vultures. So he's going to do a lot of damage to these true Dragoons as they micro back towards the safety of his own natural. But now a bunker is going to be made in the wake of this assault just as the Nexus is coming online.
Cancels on the Nexus. Interesting choice there for Mini. He realized he's not going to be able to save that, but he's being really aggressive with his Dragoons. I'm surprised to see him still try to run forward with the Dragoon. He almost killed that one last Marine, so there was nothing left for them to actually kill the bunker with, but another Marine is going to come up here. Now 2 Marines in that bunker. Mini must have range almost complete. A Robo and an extra gateway on the way. Going to go up to 3 gate off of 1 base. It's a bit of a rough situation for Mini, but he did kill quite a few SCVs, Marines, Vultures, and he didn't really lose any probes of his own. He also got the cancel, so he refunded a lot of that money, only losing 1 Dragoon. I wonder what the over-under is in this game now.
Well, this is why you go 23 Nexus and not rangeless, saying, because then things like this don't happen, and Mini's not in this weird situation where the Terran's command center is faster than his own Nexus going up. He's going to be going into 3-gate Robo from this, so Mini might even attempt some aggression from this position and not even try to expand for some time, or at least not try to rely on that expansion being the winning move here. Might just want to put on a lot of pressure with a lot of Dragoons, maybe make an early shuttle as well. The mines are going to be the problem. Can he somehow circumnavigate? He does just suicide a Dragoon into those 3 mines, actually. I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that decision, but I can understand why he did it.
Well, he does end up losing that Dragoon. Has 3 more to defend, and he will be able to produce 3 more very quickly, but what's the follow-up going to be with a later Nexus? Double expansion is kind of typical. However, Mini, he's invested a lot into this attack. He really needs to kind of get something done with this because he's not going to have the option to take this very quick Nexus.
Basically doing this simplest version of build you can do with 3-gate Observer, but with 1 base economy. It's not any sense. You can see a slot like TV League if Roy already starting to take effect. Trading by getting supply a little bit, not much. This could still go Mini's way if you get some good trades later on, but so far this is extremely royal favored for the time being.
All right, Xun, you're lagging out a little bit there. Maybe you can rejoin the chat channel. We can continue on with this cast. I'm not sure what that's all about, but hopefully it will fix itself, guys. We've got Mini with his first shuttle out. I didn't see a robotic support bay though. Does he actually have a Reaver on the way? And will he be able to deal any damage with it? Kind of looking like a Bulldog play. 3 Zealots maybe popping out here soon, so he can just try to dive bomb on top of all this. Plus the front with the Dragoon as this Observer comes across the map. He's going to try and make it happen. I don't think there's a Reaver here. There is going to be 1 Vulture making its way into the natural, but gets spotted. 3 Dragoons popping out here. He blocks that out. Can just put down 1 more pylon and go kind of all in with this. Let's see if he can get any damage done, or is Royal sewed up tight? 1 tank here. Comes that Bulldog. Zealot dropped on top. More Zealots gonna come out here. Only 3 managed to make it out of that shuttle. I think there was only 3 inside, where we can't be totally sure. Triple tank moving up to the front. The SCV is blocking. He won't be able to make any more progress, and with no shuttle, I think this attack is already dead in the water. Mini's got 800 minerals in the bank and no Nexus.
Yeah,
this
is kind of
a tough situation.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to navigate his way out of this one. He's going to finally take his 3rd base, but 8 minutes 30, that's just so slow. It's like greedy 4th timing, not 3rd timing. It's really behind curve, really behind schedule. 4 probes behind, slightly ahead in army supply, maybe a tiny bit here, but not really enough to amount to anything. Vulture's even going to get into the main base and get a scout off. That's kind of huge for Royal. Shouldn't get too many probe kills, maybe just 2 or 3, but that's still a big scout and a bit of annoyance here, just further cementing his already kind of monstrous lead in this matchup. This might be the game that he can equalize. We might be seeing that final 7th game being played from these 2 players if things still keep going this way.
Oh yeah, that's a very good possibility now. Starport on the way. Royal is going to possibly hit a 2-1 timing. As he gets a couple more factories online, it's looking more and more likely. A lot of tanks are being made, and thinking about pushing forward just a little bit here. Get out onto the map, make some space for himself. Well, he no longer needs to be sitting behind that wall as the Bulldog just completely fell flat.
But Royal needs to be careful. It's actually a little bit of a mistake to move out this soon as Royal. There's actually a chance on Mini to get on top of these tanks and kill them now. Like, he's got just barely a strong enough arc of Dragoons to pounce on top of these tanks and punish him. It's a really big mistake from Royal to push out this soon. He should have waited for 1 more cycle. Now Mini has a chance to dive on top of these tanks and get some good connections. 2 of the tanks will fall after the first one. There's 3 total. Now he can get onto the rest of the back line of tanks, which aren't in a great position. Mini will be able to bowl over these tanks. It's a massive mistake from Royal to push out at this point.
Did Royal really find a way to lose this game? Unreal. This pro is crazy. Mini gets in there at the perfect moment. Being in the right place at the right time is an understatement. He gets right in there. He will lose. I think all of these Dragoons. Oof. That's rough.
Yeah.
And Mini's third base is still very late, but losing all of those tanks, he's lost his timing push.
He's definitely lost his timing push. The game state does always trying to glitch over the zealots, glitch over the vultures with mines. It's so hard to do that. You can accomplish it. It's just so challenging to actually get the execution there. The game state does still favor Royal. It's just that he's lost so much tempo, and not being able to push out for so long will eventually make this into a slight more standardized game, because there's no ability to put on pressure to Mini, and he will have to delay how long he takes his third base here. This does make this a much more playable game state for Mini going forward now.
It's never over till it's over, Xun. We've learned that this series.
Yeah.
I feel like I've called the games one side and then had it flip to the other more times this series than in any other I've cast. It's just been so back and forth.
It's been crazy. Dropship coming here to the 12 o'clock as well. The cannon's not quite warped in as well, saying so actually will be getting like a decent amount of probe kills maybe, and can also save these vultures just before the cannon finishes warping in. Nice little damage here. Mini wisely going to be cycling some Dragoons to his natural expansion to thwart any further efforts. Good scan from Roy, identifying that that's not going to be good option. He can rotate back around to get out safely on this other vector though. Supply is currently even in both workers and army right now for Royal, so it's still a very Terran favorite game as he starts to get the CC finished up and ready to float over to the mineral only. But it's still not an optimal game for Royal as well. Like Mini's done a great job of stabilizing the game state just a little bit here.
Yeah, just being in the right place at the right time. Ready when those tanks were moving out, and the position was just not quite secured yet. Mini was not planning to dive in there. It wasn't like oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna hit him right now sort of moment. It was just oh, I'm here, here's my Dragoons, and those tanks seem pretty exposed, so let's go for it. No zealots at all, just pure Dragoon managing to kill a massive number of tanks. That's not supposed to happen. Right. And it can't be allowed to happen again, or Mini is going to seize big control in this game and might even win off of that.
Yeah, I mean, Mini did a great job of identifying that one of his win conditions was Royal making a blunder in like trying to push out and sneak his way out towards that third prematurely, and it really did like come to fruition in terms of like getting pure value out of those early Dragoons production from those 3 gateways. Does kind of solidify his chances now going into this later mid-game. Has got speed shuttles, has got some tools available to him. I'm not sure if this attack will be nearly as successful as the previous one. He just needs it to go somewhat successful and trade off some of these tanks if he can and manage to do that. But with the 4 Goliaths there, it's going to be so difficult. The Goliaths are out of position though. He's going to try and dive onto it while the Goliaths are over on the right-hand side. Does get some good Zealot bombs onto that C-tank line, but he knows he has to pull back. That's just too deep of a tank line to contend with. Mini needs to just macro up right now. That attack definitely didn't go anywhere near as strong as it could have.
Absolutely. He's even on supply, and previously when Royal took that L in his natural, losing all of those tanks, he just didn't have the support units ready. Now he's got the support units in the front. Now he's got the turrets. Even got science vessels out here to start throwing down D-Matrix as well. Diving in on top of the Terran player, you need a supply advantage to make that work, and he just doesn't have that in this current game state. He's got 1,200 minerals. He's trying to do something with all these shuttles, but he really needs to be macroing hard, and maybe even getting into another quadrant of the map. A base up in top left-hand corner is it's due. It's overdue, really, here for Mini.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really brutal still here for Mini, despite these early, like, balance shifting kind of going his way. I'm a little bit concerned for him still as Royal takes more and more bases. He's going to become an absolute macro machine. Mini does need to, like, basically take the top 2 left bases as well as get some gateways set up there. See quite a lot of factories just pumping out right now for Royal. It's kind of like wild when you see a Terran in full swing like this. You have to do some kind of maneuver warfare to win. You can't just throw your army against the wall and hope something sticks. You're basically relying on speed shuttle usage almost exclusively, unless you can get some kind of carrier transition underway. In this game state, though, the carriers will be too much of a risky play. He has to rely purely on speed shuttle maneuvering. He's got 3 coming into the natural right now. A beautiful shuttle, a beautiful turret placement will take out at least one of those shuttles so they can even fully unload. Only one High Templar gets out there. That's a pretty good storm. All the SCVs bundled up on the right-hand side takes that down to about almost a 15 worker lead now for Mini. Slightly going his way, but still the supplies overall favoring Royal here. So not enough damage, and Royal's doing a massive counter-attack on this mineral-only expansion. The Vultures with their upgraded attack will be able to easily dismantle those cannons. They're not so good at killing cannons with unupgraded units, but once you've got like 2-1 attack upgrades, you can really start to chew through those Protoss defensive buildings.
Well, Mini brought up the Dragons just barely in time. I thought he was going to end up losing more probes than Royal lost SCVs there, but does manage to save himself from disaster. Mini taking some pretty big losses, but dishing out some damage as well. I was going to say, we have to see how much damage Mini can do with the Templar drops, because he really did a lot in that last game. He did so much damage and slowed down Royal by so much. If he can make that happen again here on Pantheon, maybe there's a chance he could still transition into carriers again. Maybe there's a chance he could still slow down Royal enough and prevent him from taking the bottom left, not splitting the map in half long enough to get into a deeper tech. Maybe Arbiter this time, who knows?
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be carriers. I don't think he has the time or the resources to pull that off in this game in particular. He is doing a great job of taking more and more bases in the top left, but it's not going to be the same kind of macro advantage as we saw on Kickback. He is going to be cutting off the path of these Vultures, though. That's a great catch from Mini. If he can isolate some of these Vultures and kill them off for free, that's going to really take the sting out of the army of Royal here and make it much more manageable. Great play from Mini, cutting off the retreat path as well. This could be the kind of thing that really starts to cement himself back in this game.
That was a really nice snipe. Catching all of those Vultures, and Royal doesn't really have an answer. It wasn't like he was pushing anywhere else or harassing anywhere else at that moment. He just lost a massive supply of Vultures, and now the drops are coming in here. Gonna go ahead and land on top of one of these tanks, start to bomb those tanks out of existence. Goliath here, sitting up on the high ground. They're going to be very hard to attack into. Look at all the tanks on that low ground, tucked into that nice little position there. That's what I'm talking about, though. The corridor being such a powerful location to defend from. Oh, this probe transfer getting caught here. That is such a massive loss for Mini. He really was playing great. Until he started losing these probes all over the map, and now he's behind in workers again. He needs to get ahead in this economic game if he wants to stand a chance of overwhelming these highly upgraded mech units.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate there. That was like one of his only saving graces, was finally he was starting to get into full-on macro mode, but now kind of resetting the economy does favor Royal quite heavily. He's got a lot of power available to him, 3-1 upgrades on this mech army, as well as a lot of D-Matrix and EMP. 3 speed shuttles making their way to the 6 o'clock location. There's 4 turrets here and Goliath support. And EMP goes down. Will he be able to get enough storms to make up for this? 2 do manage to find connections on those SCVs, now having an almost 18 worker lead, so not too bad there for Mini. Though he's not doing so great out on the map. Royal smells a trigger to attack right now. Just 2 attack upgrades available to Mini on his infantry. So these 3-1 upgraded mech units will be able to trade so effectively against him. He has to buy time with Storm and try and kill as many of these tanks off as he can as he pushes across the map. But I don't think he's going to be too successful in doing so. There's just so many tanks for Royal, and the supplies are even.
Now there's no other setup of gateways in the top left-hand corner. He hasn't had time to do that. He hasn't had the multitasking to do that, I guess. He's certainly got the money, 1,800 minerals in the bank, to get some extra gateways up. He just hasn't been able to, and he is throwing down some storms here and there. slowing this down a little bit, but as soon as his rally point is completely contained, how do you win from a position like this? You can start to hit things as they're coming up the ramp. Great storm there, again, doing a lot of damage for Mini, but he's falling behind in supply, and all of his rallies are just going to get eaten up.
Yeah, supply is starting to plummet. He has got a worker lead still, but that just more highly reflects just how different the army scaling is for both players. There's so much more available to Royal than Mini in the way of these infantry forces. He's trying desperately with some storm and shuttle bombs to hold this threat at bay, but it's not going to be enough. Royal is easily probably going to be able to break into this rally point as well as start to hit some of these other base locations, and without too many gateways being set up in this top left location, I don't think he's going to be able to deal with this. I think eventually Royal's just going to squeeze him out of the game.
It's really looking that way, Xun, but I'll hold my tongue for the moment. Crazier comebacks have happened already in this series. So the Mini throwing down some final storms. No, taps out TP. All right, I guess I could have called it. There it is. Evening out the series once again. We're going to be going into our final game of the night, game number 7 on Dominator. We actually made it. I talked about this right at the beginning of the series. We're going to go to Dominator, 3-player match.
We both thought about this. I knew it was going to be a 4-3 victory for someone. I just didn't know who. I was favoring Mini, though. So my money is still on Mini, despite that a little bit poor performance overall. He did still do a good job of coming back from an almost unwinnable position. He made a playable game out of an almost unplayable game state. So I will give a little bit of hats off there to Mini. Maybe he can get it all together in this final game. He doesn't seem as emotionally rattled as he usually is when he loses. So I'm giving strong hopes for Mini in this final game.
Yeah, you got to give it to him on kickback, man. He had such a difficult early game with that very quick 3-base Terran. Royal really seemed to have a great spot, but he still managed to drag it out and go into carriers. I can't wait to see what kind of play he brings out on Dominator. Are we just going to see another cheese build? We've seen so many of them this series so far. Not all of them have worked out. A lot of them have failed, but these guys just continue to do it, and we're here in game number 7. They've got to be tired. It's got to start to wear on you. Getting later and later in the series, and it's got to start looking better and better to just go for the quick victory.
Yeah, and in team-based situations, you definitely want to tire out your opponent as much as possible. In an individual series like this, it's less common to tire out your opponent unless you know you've lost the game and you're just thinking up the strategy for the next game. We saw a little bit of that earlier, but now these players both going to the distance, it's going to come down to their conditioning as well as their skill. How well can they execute while also feeling a little fatigued here?
Okay, we're all set to hop into our final game on Dominator. Who's going to go out in third place and take home that $300? Who will be going out in fourth? It's all going to come down to this.
Let's get it, Sam.
It's been a lot of fun so far, Xun. I can't wait for that finals now. I'm getting pretty hyped.
Yeah, me too, man. Even if it is TVT, it's such a more exciting matchup than it has been. Let's get into this game, though. Spawning in the top left as the purple Protoss is going to be Mini. And his opponent down here as the yellow Terran. It's Royal.
Royal's showing more variance in its play than I ever expected, man. This guy throwing out some cheese builds, even against Mini. That's kind of surprising, honestly.
Yeah. I think, though, you need to kind of bring it a little bit, because I think if Mini dials in on what you want to do too much, his optimizations will get the better of you. Like, Mini's one of the best Protoss optimizers in the game. He's not so much great in learning the fundamentals of how to play Protoss, but he's really great in understanding how to squeeze as much juice out of the orange as possible in certain phases of the game. So much better to study a guy like Best for fundamentals and Mini for optimizations.
You've got that right. Best. A totally different style of Protoss player. It's so cool how players' unique styles can reflect so deeply in their play. It's so clear what type of player Mini is and the way he approaches this game. Royal, giving me a bit of a surprise, but being quite wide and having a lot of different styles of play utilized in this series. He's just going to open with a gasless fast expand for this final match, though. Yeah, I'm a
little bit curious. I mean, it is a tiny bit risky to take the high ground position here. If the Protoss was doing some really old school cheese, like a 10-12 gateway goon all in, it's very unlikely to see that in this current modern era. But that would be the kind of play that's strong against what Royals may be trying to do here. Obviously, Mini's not going to go for that, so he hasn't got to worry. But that is still something that we might see in ASL one day. Some old school, really cheesy fast Dragoon build punishing a player on a map like this. It can happen to the best of them. That's how some players used to lose in the Courage tournaments once upon a time. I remember Noni actually did a pretty good job of getting through on Medusa using that kind of style, punishing the early Terran wall-ins. And on a map like this, where you got a low ground main base, those early Dragoon pressure builds just have that extra bit of oomph. So you need to be a little bit more cautious as the Terran player when you're trying to take these early expansions.
Not going to get punished here, though, Mini. He will be getting the scout off here shortly. We might have another 20 Nexus coming down from him. Probe isn't being sent out just yet. Zealot making its way forward. He's going to find out the bad news. There's a very nice Sim City in the front here for Royal. Oh no, he is going to go for that more standard Nexus timing now with the range on the way. So not going to skip over range like you talked about earlier.
Is he actually building a pylon on this pizza slice to the right? He might be going for a proxy.
Yeah, he is. Oh
yeah.
Boy, and there's a SCV heading this direction too. There's no way he doesn't scout this.
He can just cancel it now that the SCV sees it if he wants, but he might still commit to it. He might just commit to it and just say, let's do it. Well, that does give now counterplay to Royal. This is not ideal for Mini at all.
Well, I think Mini's just going to go for the main, maybe? Maybe just send the Zealots in.
He can do.
Yeah, there's 4 Marines and they're out of position. Okay, there's 1 Marine in the bunker. The Dragoon Zealot gonna run by. This is gonna get to a really weird game, guys. It's already looking kind of strange, but now a Zealot's in and a Dragoon tucked in this corner. Oh gosh, that's a lot of Marines are gonna body block.
Yeah, that's a lucky SCV though. The Dragoon gets away. The SCV is still building. This is definitely more of a flash SCV than an Artosis SCV. Does manage to finally kill that though. Denying the build time of that factory is kind of huge. The proxy's not really going as expected. Dude. He's having to make it further back than the other pizza slice. I know, it's kind of wild, right? He's still going to put on some pressure with these Dragoons as well. It's going to be a little bit of a robo proxy into the main base. Maybe some crazy damage with the Reaver could spell disaster here from Royal and secure the victory for Mini. Royal has only just now gone back to making these factories. It's going to be some time until he's going to have units to defend against this Reaver. So the Reaver could do a lot, really.
Okay, well, Mini, I think, is going to take a Nexus now. No, he's faking it. He's pretending to take a Nexus here to probe out. He really wants to make Royal think that he's not gone ahead and continued with this Proxy, but Royal's not fooled. He's got an SCV like running around the map looking for something, and I think he might check his pizza slice. It seems like he's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, he's not smelling out exactly what's going on. He knows roughly, but he doesn't know exactly where it is or what it's going to be. But he should be able to somehow put this puzzle pieces together to figure out what the picture Mini's trying to paint here. No expansion still from Mini, so it's definitely going to be that all-in Reaver bust play. He can either get the Reaver to help bust through this bunker at the front, or just try and dive the Reaver into the main base to kill as many workers as possible and get on top of the Terran production by elevatoring Dragoons into the main base as well. That's also another option available to him. Dragoons are now moving into elevator position, it seems. So he's got a Dragoon and a Reaver, maybe just 2 Dragoons in the shuttle for the time being, while the Reaver's being built. Sorry. So this is actually going to be a little bit problematic, because he's going to get all the Dragoons into the main base, and then the Reaver's going to come too. So 4 Dragoons fighting right now against this force, just 4 Marines, 1 tank, and about 7 SCVs is not going to cut it. This is definitely more Protoss favored with Micro coming into full effect here. So we'll be able to get on top of this tank eventually. He needs to get a repair on that tank right here, right now. Doesn't able to do that. It does get a beautiful block on these Dragoons, but without a full surround, they will eventually be able to run to safety here. And he's not getting the perfect rounds besides 1 single Dragoon going down here. It's pretty good for Royal catching those Dragoons, but if the Reaver comes in now, maybe, just maybe, Mini can still get the job done.
He certainly doesn't have any turrets set up just yet, and with only 2 tanks available, this Reaver is going to start to wreak some havoc in the main. He doesn't want to take this engagement just yet. Okay, gotta go ahead and dive on that. Able to get that shot off. That was a full damage Reaver Scarab, so that will die. Oh boy, this is getting really bad. Both tanks are gone, and Royal's going to start to lose a lot of SCVs here. He's waiting on the next couple of tanks to pop out, but my goodness, this is way too much damage. He's really starting to lose a lot. The Nexus is going up back at home. Royal down at 6 SCVs now, and it's just going to get worse. He's definitely going to get another shot off here. He does go for the tank. Then so a second Reaver is going to have to come. He's going to have to go pick up the second Reaver now. But when the second Reaver comes in, oh my goodness, things are going to get really bad.
Yeah, the first Reaver would lose to the tank because such low HP, but this now fresh Reaver will easily start to put on the pressure. Though good target firing with those Marines, tries to snipe the low HP Reaver, not able to do so. Splash damage, just barely not getting the kill on that other Reaver while targeting the high HP one. So will still be able to launch a significant assault onto Royal right now. Mini ahead in probes by about 8, even though he's only just now getting his Nexus online. Does take out one of those Reavers critically, but still quite critical damage has been done to the infrastructure of Royal that Mini can now play a much normal game following this.
Yeah, he can fall back into a normal game. 18 workers, Xun. 18 workers. I mean, Mini showing his. This guy is crazy. Losing the proxy and then just falling back and building another one pizza slice further away. He was not expecting it. Even though Royal was scouting everywhere, he was like, are you just really late on this Nexus? What is going on? He did figure it out in the end, but my goodness, this has done so much damage, and Mini really paying dividends is kind of crazy decision making in this game.
I mean, sometimes being crazy is just what you need to do. This is a game of range after all. Much like poker, this game is way more like poker than chess. So now coming into natural expansion, these Reavers will probably easily break through this tank line with the Dragoon support. Mini could play a much more normal game, and he is taking a third Nexus behind this, but he smells blood in the water. So he's sharking his way into the natural expansion, trying to get on top of even more of this production line, killing more and more SCVs, more and more tanks. It's just more cementing his lead going forward in this game. game. Beautiful control with those Reavers. It might not be snow tier micro, but it's close to being that. Really beautifully done here by Mini. Both Reavers dangerously on HP. You have to be so careful with the positioning on the Reavers on top of the ramp, because the range of the Reavers is determined by the regions drawn on the pathing rather than how long the distance is. So you have to know the region structure a lot more to be able to get those Reaver Scarab connectors up and down ramps.
Yeah, what is it? 3 regions is the max distance,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you really do have to be careful with how you position those Reavers. Sometimes shooting up ramps is just incredibly difficult. Mini takes this game away with that Reaver play. I mean, what a perfect way to end this series, Xun. After
Really
all
climactic.
after all the wackiness that's gone on, pulls out that Proxy play that ends up getting shut down into another Proxy, a secondary Proxy that ends up doing the damage it was meant to do.
Right.
Mini gonna take on that prize. Yeah, this.
It was definitely a great way of punishing the bunker expand, but it's so wild that like he doubled down on that Proxy, and it was quite smart from Mini though. When he tried to like just pull the Marines to deal with the first pylon, he was like, okay, well I'm just gonna run by with my Zealot Goon, delay your factory and distract you, and that distraction's also gonna buy time for me to get another Proxy going. So I do really like this contingency cheese from Mini, like a triple cheese pizza being baked in the oven from him. He's definitely a maestro today, and he definitely handled his emotions a lot better in this series against Royal than he did against Light, and he kind of composed himself even when all seemed lost in that second to last game there.
Yeah, you thought you saw how much cheese was on that pizza, and then boom, there was the stuffed crust as well. That's a surprise there. Royal not ready for the stuffed crust, man. He was pretty sure that he had blocked everything on that last game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was just
thought
barely
he handled it, but
just barely from getting those turrets up online and what have you. Like, it's unfortunate for him really, but Mini did such a great job of taking advantage of those very tight, razor thin timing windows. Some of them are like 3 to 5 seconds wide, and if you don't have perfect optimization in your build and perfect execution in your micro, you can't even exploit those windows. So really stellar stuff there from Mini, showing his caliber.
yeah, unfortunately he wasn't able to make it into the finals. That finals is going to be played very soon here, guys. Barracks versus Light. We'll be bringing you the English cast coming up within the next couple of weeks. Not sure exactly how that's going to be working with ASL and whatnot, how these are going to be released, but this is an epic finals match, guys. I don't know if you're a big fan of TVT. You might be thinking, ugh, what, another TVT? This is not just another TVT, guys. This is Barracks versus Light. This is the master taking on the student. Barracks has been studying Light style and working directly with him for years, and it's finally his opportunity to surpass the master.
And we saw that really impressive performance from Barracks in the round of 4-1ing Royal, and we also saw Light performing absolutely amazingly well against Sharp in the round of 8 against Sharp, 3-0ing him. Both players playing absolutely out of their mind. Also, Barracks took out JYJ in the round of 8 as well in a TVT. So both players on their Terran versus Terran A game. And it's not like before where every single game just slogs out to a 30-60 minute. Everyone makes massive tanks and battle cruisers and Yamatos each other into oblivion for an hour. Most of the time, the game is a lot more fast-paced and much more interesting in the early mid-game shenanigans. So I'm really curious what these two players have cooked up for one another.
Yeah, it'll be a really fun final, and then we'll be straight on into season 4 of the SCSL. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the support on the StarCastTV Patreon. Couldn't do it without you. In fact, the next season of the SCSL is going to have an even bigger prize pool. We've just been informed. This prize pool, you know, the third place match, or the third place player gets, what was it, $300? Next year they're going to get something like $900. It's about triple the actual prize pool. We'll get the exact numbers for you once we get into that season, or into next season, guys. But first, that finals, we'll see you there.
Thanks, guys.